It's been 25 years. 25 years locked in a mental prison with no means of escape. Nothing to do but wait and watch. Trapped in the mind of a little piggy that escaped the slaughter. Too weak to defeat the Guardian. Until now. Now, it's time to have some After all, Dylan.
Still there?
We still never got to play Skin the Cat.
Not again. And there she does it, ladies and gentlemen. We are live, folks. My name is Dave McRae. Welcome we finally got the stream going, thank goodness. Cecil, say something. Let's see if we can, the chat can hear you. Can the chat hear you?
Ahoy, hoy. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone can hear me.
I hope everybody can hear you as well, because that would be, let's see here. Can they hear you? Great job, guys. Dave. Yes, yes. Great. So you can hear both of us, right?
Sweet.
Awesome. Hey, baby. We are live. Hey, we're live. Okay, this is good. This is good. This is the most success I've had all day.
Good work, sir. Good work.
This is good. Hey, welcome, everybody. My name's Dave McRae. It is very late if on the East Coast, not so much on the West Coast, but it is Monday, October the 14th, 2019, and I am here with Cecil Laird of The Horror Show. You know him, you love him, you know you do. And he is going to be, we are talking Dylan's new nightmare today, because the news just dropped today. I have known about this. Well, Cecil's known about it a lot longer than I have, but I've known about it and kept my big trap shut for about, I guess, almost 3 months now. And 2.5 months, I guess. And I am really excited to finally be able to talk about it with you, to learn about it. This is really exciting, Cecil. I mean, how do you feel right now that the news is that the cat's finally out of the bag?
I am exceedingly excited that I can finally talk about it and get everyone's feedback on what we've been working on for so long at this point. I mean, for me, I've been working on this since January. So This has been a very long time coming at this point, and it's exciting to finally have it come to fruition, and finally also be able to share it with your audience, who I knew would really love the news. So I'm excited to finally talk about this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And me too. I mean, I've just been, I made a little announcement months ago, and I know there were some people that messaged me and said that, I think Dave's going to be in Halloween. I bet he's going to be in Halloween. And because the announcement was coming on October the 14th and Halloween Kills is right in the middle of, shooting. And I said to a buddy of mine, I said, there's some people that think I'm going to be in Halloween. And I said, first of all, A, Blumhouse probably doesn't know who the hell I am. And B, even if they did, I don't speak highly about a lot of the Halloween movies. So they probably wouldn't put me in one. And if they did, they'd probably want me to die miserably. So, So no, it's not Halloween. It's this really exciting project called Dylan's New Nightmare. It stars myself and, of course, Miko Hughes returning to the role of Dylan Porter from Wes Craven's New Nightmare 25 years ago. It was released today, 25 years ago. That was obviously deliberate to launch the campaign today. And tell us about this project. Tell how this project came to be.
I'm trying to make sure I get a good angle here so people can see the person. There we go. That's good. Now you can see the man, the myth, the legend right behind me there.
There he is.
So all right. So how your question was, how did it come to be?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try and abbreviate it for you. But I do have the long form story that will be revealed over the course of the next few weeks, because I have a series of vlogs that I have recorded and dropped in footage and dropped in pictures from my Instagram and stuff that I've taken along the way so that I can sort of tell everyone how it really all came to be with updates all along the way. So that's coming. But the long and short of it is I saw in 2017 when Never Hike Alone came out, I was kind of blown away with, fan films are here now, and he brought back Tom Matthews. Of course, I'm talking about Vince DeSanti that made Never Hike Alone. He just finished his campaign for Never Hike in the Snow, and he surpassed his goal by a tremendous amount. So the man knows his way around fan films and campaigns, and I knew that. And after Never Hike Alone came out, we covered it, and it was funny because in Mad Monster is a convention that without this convention, none of this would have happened, quite frankly. It's a convention that happens in North Carolina and Arizona. And it's been going for about 6 years now. This is the 7th year. And basically, we have been covering that event for so long here in Arizona that about 3 years ago, we became the official press locally for Mad Monster. And so we started doing all the interviews with all the celebrities because another YouTube group screwed it up for everyone else. We just happened to be the ones that were smart enough to pick up the pieces and do it right from then on. But
capitalizing on opportunity, right?
Hey, you got to open that door when it knocks. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But and I'm already making it way more long-winded than it should be, so I got to rein myself in here. I'm like Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I'm like Kevin Smith. You can ask me one question, I'll take 45 minutes to answer it because I'll tell you everything involved.
Right.
So anyway, let me tighten it up a little bit. So nonetheless, we've been covering Mad Monster for years, and for the first time, we got invited out to Mad Monster Charlotte in 2019 at this point. So that's February 2019, and we saw that Miko Hughes was going to be there, and I was the person that was going to be doing these celebrity interviews at the event. And we just so happened to know that Pet Sematary was coming out. And so I thought, this is going to be great for the channel. I can interview the original Gage about the change and all this stuff because they had ruined the change in the Pet Sematary trailer, right? And so I was like, okay, he'll have a good perspective. And meanwhile, when I was thinking before this even came out, I was like, if I was going to do a fan film, my two favorite franchises are Freddy and Child's Play.
Sure.
And because I'm a guy that likes a killer with personality.
Right.
So that's why those are my guys, Freddy and Chucky for sure.
Gotcha.
But when it comes to when it all's said and done, Freddy's always been my favorite. He's one of 3 things that I've ever had nightmares about. It was Freddy, Jaws, and the Graboids from Tremors. Those are the only things I ever had nightmares about growing up.
Tremors is
and
a
I would love to
fantastic
make
film.
Dude, if I could reboot any franchise, I would reboot Tremors. Because I have an idea for it. I have an idea for an opening. It would be fantastic. But being able to dabble in the Nightmare franchise is kind of my dream come true. So when I was thinking, I was like, okay, my favorite is Freddy and Child's Play. I don't want to have to deal with puppeteering and animatronics and all that crap. So let me just figure on writing a Freddy one. And I was like, well, what are my favorites? I'm like, my favorite, the one I've gone back to the most, the 2 I've gone back to the most are Dream Warriors and New Nightmare, even more so than the first movie. New Nightmare always held a very, very special place in my heart because it was the first kind of meta movie that I saw where they were like, oh, there's this aspect. Like, we made these movies, but now there's more to it. The evil is breaking out. And I was like, my mind was like, I was 14.
Yes.
Came out.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it was the only horror movie that my dad, who was an orthopedic surgeon, it's the only horror movie that he ever went with me to go see in the theater. And so I've held this movie in high regard, and I always loved Heather and Dylan's relationship.
Right.
And in the era now with Halloween 2018, where we can go back and revisit old continuity years and years later, and actually Vince did it before Halloween 2018 by bringing back Tom Matthews in Never Hike Alone.
That's right.
So seeing that could be done, I was like, oh, well, I think there's a story to be told right here with Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And so just the rough idea for Dylan's New Nightmare came to my head. And so back to the Mad Monster thing, we go to Charlotte. Miko is there. I do the interview, and at one point in the interview, I slip in a question. So with the popularity of fan films in horror now, if someone ever came to you with a script for, I don't know, something called Dylan's New Nightmare, like, so cheesy, I even say it like that. It's this plan is as cheesy and concocted as my plan to get you to backdoor audition for the project, which we should get eventually too.
Yes, that was very sneaky of you.
But it worked.
It worked.
But nonetheless, so I ask him this question, and he's actually like, that would be interesting. I would, at the very least, I'd look at the script, And that was that. I moved on to the next question, finished the interview, and then I kind of left it at that. We did the coverage, and then it turned out that Mad Monster Arizona was moved up to June this year. So between February and June, it was announced that Miko was going to be in Arizona as well. And I said to myself, well, then I need to actually get this script finished. So I did in that interim. I actually started writing it at one point. I got 10 pages in. I was really happy with where it was. I started to go beyond it. And then I hated where I was going with it. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just writing to write. I need to take a break. So I took a couple of hour break, and then I came back and I thought about it. I was like, what would he be doing here? And I almost said what he's doing, who he's talking to. I don't want to reveal that. But what would he be bringing up and all this stuff? And so I thought about that, and the rest of it started to crystallize. And it came out, and it just worked really well in my mind. And so I went to the convention. We were doing our coverage, and the first day I saw Miko, and he was like, hey, he kind of remembered us. And I was like, yeah, I asked you that question. He was like, oh, yeah. I was like, I have the script. And he's like, well, if I'm on my plane back to LA and I don't have that script, I'm going to be pissed. And I was like, okay. And so I gave him the script a little bit later in the day, and he was like, okay, I'll read it when I get back to LA. And then it turned out that he ended up reading it the next night because he wasn't feeling well after the convention. He had a migraine. So he went back to his room and he read it. And then at 10 p.m. he came, because he's a shooter too. He uses a little Blackmagic handheld camera. And so we were shooting this event, the Madam Monster show, and he was shooting it too. And he's like, he stands up next to me and he's like, hey, because there's loud music going. And I was like, hey, what's up, Miko? And he's just like, he said something, and I could swear he's like, this is pretty cool, huh? And I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then I went back to my camera. I was like, yeah, it's sweet. Because, it's a burlesque show.
Sure.
He's like, this is pretty cool, right? I was like, yeah, that makes sense. A dude telling another dude, this is pretty badass, right? I was like, yeah, good-looking girls dancing to horror themes and
little did you know, little did you know he was actually saying something else that you didn't even hear him say.
Indeed. So after the event, he came up to me and he's like, hey, you didn't hear me, huh? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I guess I must not have. The music was loud. Well, what's up? And he's just like, I said I read your script and I really liked it. He's like, I think I'd be interested to maybe do this with you. He's like, I have some ideas. And I was like, oh my God, holy shit, really? Like, I was so taken aback by it. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I've written things in the past. I've written 3 feature-length films. I've only submitted one of them to anything. I submitted it to 2 different writing competitions in LA, and it got to both the quarter and the semifinals in both writing competitions. So there has to be something to my writing. So I didn't let that stop me, that self-doubt that everyone has when they're like, well, I'm writing something, but I'm terrible. I just didn't let it stop me. I'm like, I'm just going to write anyway. And so I did, and it turned out that Miko liked the direction that I was going. He did say, he's like, I have one idea. He's like, have you thought about using Rex? And I was like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. I hadn't thought of it, no, because I didn't figure. And he's like, no, I still have one. He's like, I have one of the screen used ones. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And there's a lot more to the story, but yeah, so that's how it all began, with Miko liking the script and starting from there.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, I mean, it's the perfect example of, we could throw out all the cliches, but it's the perfect example of, God, it sounds so cliche, but you don't know unless you try,
Yep.
and you have to put yourself in a position, half the battle, I tell this to people all the time, half the battle of success is surrounding yourself with the right people. And there's no doubt that obviously there's a lot of variables at play. Luck plays a big part. Certain things have to align and go right, but surrounding
Hold that
yourself
thought
with the
just
right
one
people is
second.
really important.
Let me tag up on that real quick, because
Sure.
that strikes such a chord to me, because my dad had a couple of things to say. He said, find something you love to do and find a way to make money at it. And he said, always surround yourself with like-minded people or people that challenge you.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're talking about,
Yes,
so
yes.
I just wanted to tag up on that. So
No, exactly. 100%. And a few people in the chat are saying that I'm a little low. You're a little hot. I'm a little low. Or you're about right. I think I'm just a little low. That it could be because you're the desktop and I'm not.
Yeah.
So that's probably why we had to bring Cecil in.
I can turn my Skype volume down so you don't have to change your settings.
Yeah, you could always do that, I guess.
I can do that.
Yeah, try that. See if that works a little bit. We just want to make sure. Yeah, because I need to go up. I'm about where I normally am, but I understand Cecil might be just a little hot, but nonetheless, it's probably workable. 105.
Yeah, it's not gonna Skype.
I'll
tell you what I'll do. No, it's my phone, so I can't really
That's all
control
right.
it.
Don't worry about it. No. I mean,
I'm trying to change computer settings when I forgot I'm on my phone.
people can hear me. It's just the contrast between you and I. I'm sure it'll work fine, right? You can hear me, which is good.
Pat Bros says it sounds perfect, so let's go by Pat Bros.
All right, let's go by Pat Bros. Hey, 109 people watching this late on a Friday night. Good stuff. Okay, so no, you're absolutely right. It's I remember my dad used to tell me when I was a teenager, he'd say, the hardest part, because I used to, I was sort of a chunky kid, and I began the process when I was 15 of losing weight and getting into shape. And my dad used to say, the toughest part about jogging is doing up your shoes and getting your ass out the door. Once you're out there and you're actually running, how many people how many people who have jogged or worked out or anything, it's the hardest part is getting to the gym or getting out there. You don't usually quit mid-gym, right? Like, you're not on the treadmill going, you know what, fuck this. No, like, once you're actually in the process, it's fine. And the same thing is surrounding yourself with the right people. That's half the battle of success. So, and you did that. You put yourself out there, you walked up to Miko and you said, hey, listen, I got this script. The worst you could say is, no, I'm not interested in doing that, or I can't do that for a variety of different reasons. But that didn't happen. So
yeah, you're exactly right. That's I looked at it. That's the way I looked at it. I was like, I literally have nothing to lose. What are the chances I'm even going to cross paths with Miko again if he says no? Right. And it's all positive if it works out. And if not, I still got to talk to Miko on a couple of occasions. And here's the thing. Here's why I kind of endeared myself to him. You can see during the interview, which is available on the Horror Show channel, Interview with Miko Hughes, if you look it up. I actually kind of blubber about his Mercury Rising acting because I wasn't the Pet Sematary fan. I did love Kindergarten Cop, but that wasn't his movie. Sure. But I loved Mercury Rising. Right. Him and Bruce Willis, and he was like, and I quoted him. I was like, dude, I love that movie. Mommy, Simon is home. Like, and I did it like Simon, He was just like, oh, no one ever quotes that.
I was just gonna say, he's probably like, Really? Mercury Rising? That one?
Well, but no, but that's the thing. When I went to his panel at the convention, he actually said that Mercury Rising, well, he said he had the most fun on New Nightmare, but he said Mercury Rising is one of the ones he's most proud of because of the amount of work he did going into that, playing an autistic child.
Yeah.
And so I give him all the credit in the world for that. But yeah, and just circling back around, Dave, you actually said at one point that you like kept me jazzed through this process. Like once I brought you on, which I knew was the smart move, because once like I got to know you a little bit more after I had already kind of figured on my Freddy for some reason. I don't know why, or I just started watching you more or something, but I was like, why didn't I consider Dave? And I was planning, no, because we met it at the Halloween convention.
We met, yes,
so,
for those,
that's
right.
Go ahead. Tell that real quick.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, for those of you that may not know, well, most of the people that watch my channel know that last year I was in Los Angeles for a couple of reasons, and one of them was to attend the 40th anniversary of the Halloween convention. And when I was there, I met a lot of people that came up to me and said how much they like the channel and they're fans and blah, blah, blah. And that's a weird experience because being a voice actor, you know, the anonymity of having your face hidden is actually kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of people that probably heard my voice, but you'd never know my face. And I've always liked that part of that side of the entertainment industry. So when I went to the convention, it's a bit different because now I know I'm putting my face out there and I have all these, and I'm sure there were some people that probably saw me, you know, from afar that were like, yeah, there's a fucking McRae piece of shit. I'm not going up to him. I'm sure there was somebody that was thinking that. But to my surprise, a lot of people came up and they said hi, and I was taking selfies, and it was a very unusual experience for the voice actors. So
one dude cut in front of me, by the way. I was very polite about it, but
oh really? I didn't know that.
Dude, I was sitting there waiting while you were talking to someone a good long time, and I was just sitting there being kind, just kind of chilling off to the side, and then another dude wanders up right as this other guy's finishing up, and he just fucking goes whoop right up to you, and I'm just like, I didn't
even notice that. I didn't even notice that.
But yeah, what was really
cool.
funny is when I walked up to you. Yeah, you were the first thing you said to me. You were like, "I know your face, but I'm not sure why."
Yes, I did.
It was because I had just dropped my Michael Myers versus PETA video like a week beforehand.
Right.
Where I was just a satire video where it was like PETA is suing Michael Myers because of all the dogs that he killed through all the movies.
Poor Lester. Rest in peace, Lester.
Oh my God, dude, there's so many, and because I included the comic book dog kills too, because there's a lot in those too. So like I just did this whole fake news breakdown, and so I sent it and I tagged you in it when I posted on Killer Flicks, and you watched it, and so you were like, I know your face. I was like that, and you're like, oh, right. Yes. But I told you that I had I'd been watching your channel for a bit, and I was a big fan of what you did, and that I would love to do an interview with you at some point.
Correct.
And true to my form,
which by the way,
about a year afterwards.
By the way, I want to say that when you said you were a fan of the channel, that's always good because, you know, as I'm sure you know, and especially someone like me, I'm very theatrical and I'm very opinionated, and I'm almost a character, you know, when I go on camera. So I know there are people that I like that guy, but I know there are just as many people like, I don't like that guy. You know what I mean? So when you came up and said, no, I like that guy, I was okay, whew, good. So yes, and then we were going to do an interview. That's right.
Yeah, and it just took me forever to get around to it. And so as I was like, I really need to sit down and interview Dave, and I was like, he's a voice actor. Why didn't I ever consider Dave to be Freddy? Because he's a voice actor. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see if he can do Freddy. And so when I was preparing for the interview, this is the subversive thing that we were kind of talking about earlier. I decided, I was like, this is going to be a fun question for the interview, whether it works out for this or not.
Right.
I'm like, and if you realize, I buried it under 2 other impressions too. Yes, I was like, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to do 3 impressions. I only wanted you to do 1, but I was going to ask you to do 3 impressions. And so I had to, like, this is how my brain works, Dave. I had to get creative with my questions. I'm like, what would I actually want to hear Dave do? And so I'm like, okay, now I got to think of actual shit I want to hear him do. And so I'm like, okay, let's hear his version of the Scream voice. That sounds fun. And then let's have some real fun. He loves Halloween. Everyone knows him as the Halloween guy. Let's get his Michael Myers if he talked. Like it just kind of worked, you know?
Sure.
And
Sure.
so I was able to come up with that question. And I luckily was able to tip you off to that question without tipping you off to the reason for the question, because I knew as a voice actor you would want to prepare for that kind of thing as opposed to having to do it right off the cuff. So I was like, hey, just so you know, I have this little question for you. Did you figure anything at that point, or were you just like, okay, yeah, no, I get it?
Well, it's funny you say that, because no, I didn't, but that's because I had no idea about the project. I mean, if I had known about the project and we were, if we maybe had known each other an extra year or two, right? You know what I mean? And we'd become a bit closer, and maybe we, you know, I might have been aware that you were working on this, but don't say it. And then maybe if you'd asked, maybe then I might have connected the dots, but I had no idea at all. And believe it or not, the Freddy thing, I didn't really prepare for that, because I'm not doing Freddy, but it's very instinctual to kind of go, you know, that way. So when I got the list, or the message with a few things that you want me to say, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I can do that. And I thought you just were utilizing it as part of the interview, you know. So it was.
This
very
is where
smart,
I like to
Cecil.
steal from Joe Tribbiani. I like to say more than just a hat rack, my friend. That's the one bit of Joey I can go with. Yeah,
it was sneaky.
I'm very subversive that way sometimes.
Yeah. And then you know, when you offered me the role, well, at first it didn't actually. It wasn't.
I'd love to hear it from your perspective. So please.
Well, yeah, I mean, what happened is that, I mean, at first it was like, well, you know, I might have somebody who, there was somebody before me, you know, and maybe I might get this, you know, person to do it. And then I said to you, I said, well, listen, I said, if you want to stick with this other person and just have me do the voice, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. I mean, that you'd have to send me, you know, the dailies, or you'd have to send me so I could match to lips, and that makes it a little more complicated, especially being so far away, but it's certainly doable. And, but then you were like, well, hang on, you know, let me go away. And, you know, you went away, and you were not fully set on sort of the decision you wanted to make. You were, you know, you wanted to make the right sort of choice. And then I guess it probably took a couple of weeks. And then,
well, I knew the decision I wanted to make, but I had to be professional about it with the first person.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. And that's the way to be. And, and then you offered me the role, and I couldn't turn it down. I mean, it's not just the role. It's the potential of everything that surrounds it. And it's where things could go, not just for me, but for everybody, and for everybody involved, and to be a part of something like that, to play Freddy. I mean, I remember being a kid in the 80s, and I think I told you this on our on, you know, one of our many Skype meetings. And I said that I used to have a winter glove, and I used to tape Bic ballpoint pens to the glove. And this is like 1983, so I would have been like 4. No, couldn't have been 83. It'd have to be after 84. So let's say 84, 85. So I was like 6, 7. And you couldn't go into the store and buy the Freddy plastic knives gloves yet. That was coming, but you couldn't do it yet. So I had this ball. I mean, it was a lethal weapon. I'm walking up the sidewalk as a 6-year-old, you know, with this lethal weapon on my hand, like ballpoint pens, sharp, all the caps off them. You know, I'm walking along going, you know what? I mean, I've been a Freddy fan. I think most people, most kids, even though Michael Myers today and for many years is my favorite, and Halloween is my favorite, most kids, I think, would say that they got into Freddy or Jason first because Freddy and Jason were relevant, were so embedded in the pop culture, and Michael, after 1981, was non-existent, and Freddy and Jason were just in our faces all the time. So by the time I became of an age like 5 or 6, it was Freddy. So, you know what I mean?
But Wes Craven, in all of his wisdom in New Nightmare, has a line for Nancy where the doctor is accusing her, you have showed your son your films. And she's like, everybody knows who Freddy is. He's like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. And like,
that's it.
That's why I'm excited. Like, here's the thing, Dave, consider this. Like, there's a lot of perspectives that I've been, you know, presented with throughout this process. And someone's like, you realize that when Wes said that, you know, Freddy Freddy's trying to break out because a new movie hasn't been made in a long
Right.
time. We need to regain that. That had only been 2 years since
Right.
1991, or 3 years technically on release schedule since Freddy's Dead came out. Only 3 years. So we got Freddy versus Jason after that, but the most recent iteration of Freddy was in 2010 in the remake.
That's right.
So technically, Freddy's been asleep for 9 years. He's overdue for a comeback.
He is.
Even in, like, especially considering Wes's own projections. And
And
so
you-
I'm really diving into that. And that's
You-
that's where I think is the interesting part.
I think it's really cool, and you could make the argument, because the 2010 film was a remake with a different version of Freddy, you could make the argument that this version of Freddy, from the other continuity, it's actually been, well, I mean, I guess it's been since 2003, but I look at that as, the Freddy versus Jason is almost satirical in nature, right? Like, if you want to go back to something that's taking itself a little more seriously, it really has been about 25 years. So, I mean, he's hungrier, and he's really hungry now, So I think it's cool. And I wanted to, like, when we talked about the voice or the style, my goal was I said to you, like, you asked me, because I didn't know where you were. And I said to you, well, like, there's no doubt that he is darker in New Nightmare. He is much darker in that's the darkest we've seen him since probably at least 3, right? 3's that hybrid. And I said to you, do you want to go that dark, or do you want to keep... I was assuming we'd go darker. And then I asked you, sort of almost like I was begging. I was like, could we go like part 1 and 2, a little bit of 3 dark? Like, could we go that dark, even though... And you were like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. Because I would love to play that version.
That's what I wanted. That's
Yeah.
the sweet spot, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, there's so many lines, like, and again, that I'm only doing this. I'm not doing this because, like, it's silly to do it because you're the actual professional voice actor. But I have done so many lines of Freddy throughout my life. Like, just even from the very first one where it's just Nancy and he's just like, "You what?" Like, he's got so many. Even when he's incredulous, he's evil.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I like, and what's funny is we're rewatching all the movies to review through this month on the channel, and I watched part 3, and part 3 is the first time that they don't. Well, that's not true. I guess in part 1, when he's like, "This is God," was kind of closer to his actual voice, but in part 3 there's only one time where they use Freddy's voice where they don't use the vocal the pitch shift, and that's when he's talking to Tara, and like she kicks his ass at one point, or kicks him in the nuts, and he's like, "Why are we fighting, you and I? We should be happy. We should be friends." And then he switches, and his hands change to the things, and he's like, "Let's get high." Like, for a second, it's like when he's not evil Freddy, he like kind of shrinks down and is like,
"That's right.
Why are we fighting?" Like, it's I love that, but that's the only time that it really happened. But yeah, like 3 was the introduction of the whimsy that they just go too far with in 4 and 5. Although, don't get me wrong, I love 4 and 5, and I'm even a big fan of 6. Like, I'm not the person that's like 6 is an abomination. I would still put 6 above most of the Michael Myers movies, in my opinion. But that's just because of my love for Freddy.
Right. Of course, I understand that.
But yeah, like the 1, 2, and 3 Freddy, or 1, 2 with shades of 3 Freddy, is, I think, the sweet spot and the scariness. And yeah, that's where the Freddy from New Nightmare was. He was just, "Miss me," and then he was still a little bit whimsical. Again, he maintained a touch of that whimsy from 3 when he was doing the "wanna play skin the cat," that's that little bit of whimsy, but it's scary whimsy, and that's what I want.
Right. Yes, exactly. And that's what I kept in the back of my head, because we went through quite a few iterations for the teaser, trying to find that nice sort of balance that could at least, bring that essence, that sense. So when you hear it and you hear the lines, you go, "Oh, this is dark Freddy. And there's what I love about what Robert Englund did, and obviously, kudos to the production team as well, because a lot of that has to do with a bit of the pitch shift. But what I loved about it is that, especially in part 2, and you see this a lot in several of the films, he's almost whispering when he's talking. And it sounds very eerie and very creepy. And I wanted to bring that into the teaser a bit too. So there's a line in the teaser where I say, God, I know the line's off by heart now. It's been 25 years, the 25 years locked in a mental prison. Then I say, waiting to do, all I can do is, and watch. And when you hear me say watch in the trailer, in the teaser, I really sort of milk that whisper a bit. Just it comes out.
I love it because you sound so disgusted with it too.
Yeah.
You're just like, watch. Like,
yes.
I loved it, dude. I loved it. Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh no, he's gone. No, he's still there.
Sorry, I yanked my cord.
That's all right. But no, you're right. And that I wanted to give that guttural sort of whisper. So there's certain moments where people would be like obviously it's not Robert Englund, it's me. But when you listen to it, my goal at the end of the day is that people can listen to it, and then eventually when they see the film, watch me with that, performance and go, well, it's not Robert, but that is Freddy. And that's my goal. So I said yes. I mean, I couldn't, Cecil asked me to marry him, and I said yes. I just had to say yes,
that's not an unapt, analogy if you consider if this does well. You know what I mean? That we will be working together for a little bit of a while, if that's ideally, true. Right? Ideally.
Yeah, of course. Oh, of course, 100%. And that's what I said to people, on the stream that was axed today. I apologize for everybody who tuned into Two Dudes and Some Bullshit earlier. It just was going on with the buffer, and anyway. But at the beginning, for those of you that did tune in live, I said that the potentiality of this with other things, I didn't say anything outright. I just kind of alluded to some ideas that there are some things that Cecil does have in mind of where this could go if it is successful, and other cast members that may come on board. So it's exciting to where it could go. And the rights to Elm Street have now been reverted back to the Craven estate, which is interesting, so huge, you know what I mean? So it's a great idea. And, I think you should be really, really proud of yourself for putting this all together. I mean, I've looked at the Indiegogo page and just been like, geez, this is really involved. It makes me like, all right, now I know what I need to do for It's Me, Billy.
Yeah, man, I took a lot of time with that thing to make it right. And yes, I did use Vince's Never Hike in the Snow campaign as a bit of a template, as it were, for part of it. But, Vince even said, hey, do that, use it, it's working for us, so let's do that. And I made graphics that I hadn't thought to make as a result. But yeah, man, I mean, having you behind it was another huge gust of wind in the sails. Miko, obviously a huge gust of wind. Renee, Vince, both gusts of wind. Like, it just feels like there's so much going for this project that, like, it doesn't even matter that I'm kind of an unknown. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I assembled the right people around me, so that didn't matter. And right. I'm kind of fine being the kind of director that just sets back and just kind of does things. Mm-hmm. And like, people, I don't need to be the one that's at the forefront going like, hey, look at what I did, guys. Hey, check it out. Hey guys. Hey, I'm Cecil. This is my thing. Hey, no, that's not, Cecil, that's not me. No.
I see a lot of those people in the entertainment industry. In the voiceover world, if I go to an audition or a session, Miko will probably be able to relate to this, but from the on-camera side, you'll walk into the waiting area where all the actors are, and if it's a voiceover audition, you can imagine what that's like. You have everybody in the room going, hi, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while, so what are you doing? Well, I just finished a Toyota ad. Actually, they signed me for a massive campaign. What about you, Bill?
Oh my God.
Well, actually,
I myself.
Oh my God, there's so many times I'll sit there and I'll be like, Jesus. Like, I'm one of those people. I'm a very extroverted person, obviously, and very outgoing, but I'm one of those people that I for me, it's about the work, and I go in, I do my thing, and I leave. It actually would be like pulling teeth to get me to go to an after party, or something like that. Like, unless it's something that I'm a part of, like if it's an after party for something I'm in or a part of, well, that's fun, but just going out and things like that. Like when I attended the Voice Arts Awards last year, and I'll be attending them again this year because I was nominated, which is great. It'll be at Warner Brothers next month, and there's after parties and things. And I'm just like, oh man, I don't know. I'm just one of those people that I like to go and do my thing and get out. So when I'm around it's just it's really extra, as the kids say today.
Now, just real quick to address a couple things. Pat Bro said, is the laugh at the end of the trailer Dave? Yes, everything in that trailer that is Freddy is Dave.
Yes, it is.
So that laugh that we echo out at the end, that is definitely him. So it's amazing. He truly does, Dave. You truly nail that laugh, that one specific, that like it's.
Hey, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I've been working on it my whole life too. So, but that's all I can do. Like I can mimic actual lines from the movies, but I can't. Like, that's what I realized. I attempted to get into voiceover at one point, and I can do it with certain voices that I have. But the mark of a true voice artist is someone that can slip into character and say anything in that character's parlance without slipping. Right. So, no matter what sentence can be given to you, you're saying it the way that character would say it. And I don't know that I could do that. If someone just fed me a sentence that says rubber baby buggy bumpers as Freddy, I'm like, I don't think he said that in the movies, so
maybe
I
he will now.
Yeah. I have control now.
That's true.
What can I make? I'm going to start feeding you like bullshit scripts and just have you do like Freddy went to the corner and got a lollipop. Wait, what?
Oh, the outtakes are going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be great.
But you know what? You've hit the nail on the head. I say to a lot of people, one of the biggest misconceptions about voiceover is that it has everything to do with the sound of your voice. And voiceover, whether you're doing movie trailers or radio and television commercials, animation, network promos, whatever the case is, it really is about your acting and performing abilities. And when you are a good, brilliant, or great actor, you get in. I mean, just watch, Mark Hamill do animation, or watch Frank Welker, or Bob Bergen, or any of the top VO animation actors. It's acting. You're behind the mic, but it's acting. And it's the same with commercials as well. I mean, it's, not quite as intense as, say, animation, but it really is about the acting. So, it's a character that you're playing, so, and I want to get into that character. But yeah, no, everything in the teaser is me. Apart from, I wasn't the actual person playing Freddy. Who was that, by the way? That was,
that is a young lady by the name of Courtney. That is a cross Freddy in the teaser, or not. So yeah, Courtney, who does Cortex Studios. Okay. She and her boy Alex, they do Cortex Studios together. She's Courtney Lee Creations on Instagram if you want to follow her. We actually had her on our channel recently. She did a full cosplay as the new Pennywise for our spoiler discussion of the new It.
Beautiful.
So yeah, she's very talented. She's also the person that weathered, and this is circling back to one of the questions that we had. Someone said, is someone making Dave's costume or whatever? This is Dave's costume right there. So that is our New Nightmare sweater. That is Dave's pants. Those are Dave's boots, and that is Dave's hat. That's not going to be Dave's mask or Dave's hand because Nora Hewitt are making those, and that's not happened yet. But then the glove, Nightmare 4 glove as well. But this right here, I'll show your audience. This is the new glove. So if you want to see what it looks like, this is what it looks like right here.
Very cool stuff. Now, I've seen some people say that it looks very similar to the remake glove from 2010.
Really?
Yes, very similar. I've saw some people say that, and I can't remember that movie all that well. I think it might have something. Either. Yeah, I think it might have something to do with the bones of the hand, but nonetheless, it's an original glove. It looks fantastic, and guys, I should put the I should have put the Indiegogo campaign link in the description. I should do that. Maybe I could do that now.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. Let me see if I can. I got to get to
Yeah, and I'll,
the.
I'll talk about this a little more just so you can see. So, guys, yes, the chrome here is meant to mimic the bones of the hand. Because remember, the new Nightmare glove was the all red glove with the bones, and it was musculature, and some iterations even have red tubing for veins. So we basically went with a modified, like a crossbreed between that and the Nightmare 4 glove. So you see the red here is the throwback to the musculature. The chrome bones are the throwback to the white bones. They are the new Nightmare blades. So it's not the old blades, it's the curved new Nightmare blades, just so you can see. The blades are different if you didn't know. They curve way differently on the new Nightmare blades. They go way lower. Whereas the regular blades, they go to about here. So there's that. And then what he did that's really awesome is for the veinage, if you look real close, he did copper wiring wrapped around the chrome and then up through the fingers for the veins of the glove. And then it's a black glove instead of the standard red glove or a brown glove because it just fits better with the red and the silver. So that is the up close and personal of the glove that even my audience hasn't technically gotten yet.
That's awesome shit. Okay, I put the link to the Indiegogo campaign in my description. It's as you know, making movies is an expensive venture, and anything you guys can, any bit of support helps, no matter how big or small. If you cannot support financially, that's okay. Spread the word on social media. Tell people, if you're part of horror groups, if you're a part of nightmare groups, if you're a part of whatever the case is, talk about it, spread the word. But if you can help contribute to the Indiegogo campaign in any way, even if it's I don't know what the lowest is, maybe it's $5 or something, but even if it's the lowest tier, that's okay. Every little bit helps because this is something we really want to bring to the table. And if you want to see me as Freddy Krueger face off against Miko Hughes, then that's a great way to help contribute to that. And the perks, by the way, the perks are absolutely fantastic. I mean, I was looking over the perks, Cecil, and I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, like they're just awesome stuff. I mean, everything from, guys, you have now again, you don't cripple your financial, means here or anything like that. But there are opportunities to potentially have the glove from the movie, the sweater from the movie, signed posters, signed this, VHSs, DVDs, Blu-rays, and it's just amazing stuff. I mean, talk, a bit more about that and how you came to sort of settle on these types of perks. It's just amazing stuff.
It's just stuff that was developing as we were going along with the project. Like the first thing that we created for the project was the poster. And so I knew the poster would be a perk. We had the logo after the poster, so I made the logo t-shirt. And then as we were going along, I was like, it'd be really cool if we had a couple alternate posters. And one of my ideas, actually going to something one of the commenters was talking about earlier, I'm trying to see where it was right here. Okay, so Franklin Stein said, one thing that really scared me as a kid was that Freddy beat Rex. In my head, Rex.
Oh, Cecil, are you still there? Oh,
same way.
Oh, wait, hang on. I lost you for a second there. Go back about 10 seconds and start again. So, the last thing we heard was Freddy beat Rex.
Yeah, so I've always felt the same way. I've been obsessed with the idea that Freddy fought a T-Rex every night in order to, try and get to Dylan. And so one of the posters, the third poster, in fact, I commissioned an artist by the name of Robert Elrod that's fantastic. And I was like, I want a picture of Freddy versus the T-Rex. So he did. Our third poster is the new Nightmare Freddy versus a giant Rex, and there's a little Dylan hiding behind Rex's tail in the nightmare world with the big Freddy spitting out the water. That's just one of the posters, and you can get that both in the color or the black and white version. So yes, I've always been obsessed with that.
I'm going to show the black and white version now.
Perfect.
It should pop up on the screen here. 1 second. Let me just 1 second here. Can you guys see that? Is it up there now?
Oh, there you go. Yep, they can see. Yeah, for the most part, it's there. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's some pretty cool. These are original pieces, guys. I mean, this is stuff created specifically for Dylan's New Nightmare. And this is what is just so awesome about this work. And there is a colored version that you'll be able to potentially get as well. I mean, it's part of the perk, right?
There's both a colored perk and a black and white perk, and there's a whole poster perk where you can get all 3 of the posters. But yeah, like I've been obsessed with that too. So there's those perks. The gloves, yes, we do have a perk. Some people are going to call it an expensive glove, but the gloves are not inexpensive to make. So we have to pay the person that makes them, and then obviously we want some of that perk to go towards the film too, because that's the point of the perk. So we have about spread across the perks, I think we have about 15 of those gloves available for people to get their hands on.
Wow.
I'm not sure. I might be able to squeeze some more out of my artist. I don't know. But right now it's just 15. So there's only 15 of those that are going to be in existence outside of the ones for the actual production. So they are definitely collector's items. And the artist, Mark Phillips of Nightmares Unlimited, he has said he will not make that glove for anyone else except for our production.
Wow.
So you cannot go to him afterwards and get the glove after the fact. Only through this production can you get that glove. So yes, for any purists that want the glove, you can get it. These sweaters are going to be made by a very talented artist by the name of Maggie O. She is a German artist that does these sweaters specifically. Each one is hand sewn. So the sweaters aren't available. They won't be done until 2021, but there's sweaters that aren't torn up, and then there's sweaters that are damaged like this one on a couple of different tiers. There's pins that we have for Dylan's New Nightmare that came out looking great. The digital download pack is something cool, and then we've got a couple of very special perks, one of which might involve a versus picture of some kind, but I cannot hold more than that.
Ooh. That's great. That's yeah. I mean, the perks are just.
I'm sure you can guess what I'm talking about.
Yes, I can. But that was like the perks are awesome, and like I said, guys, I mean, you know what I was talking about, because I often do. I talk about It's Me, Billy, on my channel, which is the
sorry.
Which is the Black Christmas fan film that I'm currently in development on. We just completed the first draft of our script, which is awesome. But we talked about we're obviously going to crowdfund as well, because I was telling them, I mean, just to secure locations alone. Now, it all depends on the location and how often you shoot there. But as you know, I mean, just to secure a location alone could cost you several grand. I mean, and it can be really tricky. So any little bit helps, guys. I mean, this is something that there's a set amount that, that Cecil wants to raise. And if we can reach that amount, then that just makes this film a reality. It's going to happen. Now, obviously, with the amount raised, I think we're going to try and do something no matter what. But if we can meet that target budget, that just takes a lot of the pressure off in terms of the cost of making a film. Even short film doesn't equate to easier film. Short films, go through the process: development, pre-production, production, post-production, locations, and all these kinds of things. So it can get a bit tricky, but the perks are amazing. I mean, and I don't just say that because I'm a part of the project. I mean, even Vince's perks are like, if you like the perks that go with Never Hike Alone, it's similar kinds of level of perks. I mean, it's just awesome stuff, so I mean, it's cool stuff. If I wasn't in the movie, I'd definitely be donating to the movie.
So just to address a couple of questions real quick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, I have the screen over here, so it's a bit far away from me, but if you can see it a bit closer.
I can,
Cecil,
it's right there. So
take the reins and go. Yeah, do it.
So yeah, Emperor Tiberius says this glove is going to be an awesome collectible. Totally agree. Brooke Luz says she's going to donate tonight. Brooke, can I post a picture of the poster when I tweet about the Indiegogo link? Of course, Brooke, absolutely.
100%.
So Tricky15 asks, do you guys plan on doing a one-piece latex mask like on Freddy back here, or piecework like Robert Englund endured? And I'm sorry to tell you, Dave, but it's going to be piecework. I talked to Nora about it, and the piecework is just better for close-ups.
Okay.
So that's what it's going to end up being likely. Okay. But yeah, so it's going to be very authentic, you guys. It's not going to be just one big piece like that. Although the big pieces don't look bad necessarily.
No, they don't. They look really good.
But for the close-ups, you'll be able to tell the lips and stuff like that. So
right.
Currently, number one Wonder Fan says or asks, what's the target length for the film? The length is at least 21 minutes, but it could be upwards of 30 minutes depending on if we reach the numbers that we're hoping to, because if we get to a certain level, then I can add 1 to 2 kills, which won't sacrifice the pacing of the movie because I built in the kills when I was writing it, knowing that I might be able to go to them if I needed to.
Right.
Nathan Oswald asked, does the VHS copy perk also include the Blu-ray copy too? That specific perk does not. They are separate perks, but there are perks later on that you can get, like a bigger perk that will give you the Blu-ray, the VHS, and a couple of other things as well. So you can do it that way, or you can just add it piecemeal, because every perk is an add-on perk as well. So you can do both that way. But I got to pay for them separately, so unfortunately we have to pass those non-savings down to you at times.
That sounded like the end of a commercial right there.
A really bad one that won't get any money. Yes. All right, so let's see. The Versus poster. That wouldn't be a poster showing Freddy versus Michael Myers on it, would it? I'm not going to say Emperor Tiberius, but if you consider everyone involved in the project, then you might be able to figure out the Versus poster a little bit quickly. So let's see. That's fantastic. Great to hear about the makeup. Okay.
Now that is that something to do? Don't say anything, but I'm trying to see if I'm on the right track that you're on. Is the Versus have something to do with that extra scene but you didn't want to?
No.
You don't. No.
No.
Okay.
It would just be a separate promotional picture.
Okay. I got a couple things in my head. We'll talk after.
Yep.
All right.
Just consider. Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you after.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it. It's a special bonus perk that's going to come later.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. I already think I know who it is, says Frankenstein. Okay. Well, good. See, people are figuring out.
Cool.
Okay. Let's see. Will you be inspired by New Nightmare Freddy makeup or Nightmare 1 and 2?
Great question.
This is actually something, and we haven't hit on this as much as I wanted to, but guys, the makeup effects are going to be done by Nora Hewitt, who won season 9 of Face Off. She is a very, very talented makeup effects artist, and she is going to design her own Freddy. So I don't know. She's coming up with designs now in the background. And so I know that the whole point of our Freddy was to be a mashup Freddy between New Nightmare and like the part 4 Freddy. That's what I was going for. So that's, I think, where the makeup is going to end up being.
Really cool. And what's cool about it is that it worked out so well, too, because we'll be doing this in Los Angeles, which is great, and that worked out because I'll be there next month, and it's going to be awesome.
Oliver Mercer says, so who's going to be a part of the film from the original New Nightmare? Dylan. Miko Hughes right now is the one that's going to be a part of Dylan's New Nightmare. Now, I will say, and this isn't expressly said on the Indiegogo campaign, but if this does work out, this would be the first in a potential series of shorts that could eventually be combined into a full-length feature. But I'm not focusing on that right now. I'm focusing on the first one, make sure everyone likes the first one before we decide to go that route.
Right. Yep. No, that's a smart thing to do. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, take it away, man.
I think I'm caught up on the question. Oh, when do you start filming? Depending on how the Indiegogo goes, that might determine how quickly we get to things. But right now, the plan is to start filming in Q1 or Q2 of 2020. That way we can have it done, hopefully by maybe the Halloween season of 2020 as well.
That would be cool. That would be awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting Nora. And is Nora a graduate of the Tom Savini School of Makeup?
I believe so.
She is. Yeah, there you go, guys. I mean, Tom Savini, one of the greatest special effects artists ever in the business. I mean, the man who essentially, for all intents and purposes, created Jason Voorhees. So, I mean, here you have a woman who studied at his school and won season 9 of Face Off. She lives out in Los Angeles. And we're going to hook up and she's going to build her own version of Freddy Krueger. Now, as Cecil said, when you say your own version, it's not like it's going to be something that doesn't look like Freddy Krueger, but she wants to put her own stamp on it. It's going to look like Freddy, but it's going to be her own thing. You know what I mean? And that's exciting.
I told her I wanted to wipe the whole face out, though.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. White the face, take off the eyebrows, remove the sideburns. Oh, wait a minute. That's another movie. That's a completely other different movie. God damn, Halloween's always in the brain. That's exciting, man. I mean, that's like, I'm excited. Like I'm going to the Voice Arts Awards. I'm nominated. My fingers are crossed. Going to Warner Brothers. Going to get my makeup done, a head cast and shit. This is gonna be great. It's gonna be a great trip.
It's gonna be awesome, dude. It's gonna be awesome. And when you go out, I'm gonna attempt to make sure. Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to make sure I'm out there to film it for BTS and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Oversee it. But what I was just gonna. Oh shit! What was I just gonna say? Damn it! Oh no.
Oh, he's thinking. Let me see if I can see some here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brooke Lee, am I saying that right? Sorry.
I do remember what I was going to say. Go ahead, you go first.
Is this your first time physically, not voice acting in a film? No, it's not, actually. I acted in theater all my life, and I also did some commercials and docudramas on my way up as a voice actor. I actually started acting on camera and on stage first, and then, long story short, I broke my teeth playing road hockey back home. There's a Canadian thing for you. And so I know, fucking damn Canadians. We're not all nice. So I think it was my own.
I broke my teeth, eh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right, man. So it was. I think it was the shaft of my own stick. I think it was my own stick that came down across my teeth.
You're gonna phrasing. I'm calling phrasing on that.
Yeah, I know, shaft. I know.
Shaft of your own stick. Look, Dave, I don't need to know what you can do up there in Canada. If you can somehow stretch yourself to get the shaft of your own stick to break your teeth, then more power to you. That's all I have to say.
Cecil, I'm telling you, they're long fucking winters, okay? They're long winters up here.
Sometimes the only warm body you have is your own.
That's right. You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I went on hiatus. I couldn't act on camera because obviously I had a couple of holes in my face. So I started to lean heavily in the voiceover, and it took off, and I didn't look back. So this opportunity to not just get on camera and act again, but to step into one of the most iconic roles in the history of horror is just an opportunity I just could not pass up. And to play opposite, Miko, who was in, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I could not pass that up. So it's just, it's so I do have some experience, so I'm not totally green to it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So the thing I remembered is you and in your Two Dudes stream, you and your boy, Tony, right?
Yeah, that's right. Tony Michael. Yeah.
Cool. Yep. Just want to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing. You've talked very briefly about the stance, and there is a moment. There is a moment that I didn't expressly say it, but it's after the most fun line you might have to deliver, if you know what I'm going for there. The one where it's the one that crosses into part 3 territory a little bit.
Yes. I do.
So if you consider, imagine the shot immediately after that line when you start to walk towards thing. That's
right.
Holding right before you start advancing. I think that would be the moment. where you
For
kind of
those
toss aside something else.
Yes, yes. For those of you that might not know what we're talking about, we're talking about Freddy's stance, where he drops that one shoulder down, and he just kind of has that look, and his shoulders kind of
I
down
think Tony
a bit,
called it the gunslinger stance.
He did. He called it the gunslinger stance. So that'll be fun to do. That'll be fun to do. I look, because that is something that Freddy would do, and so that's going to be fun. Now somebody asked, I thought I saw it earlier in the stream. Somebody asked, I think, and I already know the answer to this, but I wanted to get you to say it. Is Freddy going to be wearing his trench coat in this film because of what he wore in New Nightmare?
So here's the thing. In the first iteration, in this first instance,
dude, I can't wait to get my fucking paw into that glove.
The reason I put it back on is someone said, "Hey, can you show the glove again?" So I put it back on.
I feel it on my hand right now. It's so amazing.
Hang on, let me fix the camera now. I'm trying too much to show the glove. I'm not paying attention to my work.
All right.
But yeah, no, this is the glove. I'm surprised so many people are saying it's so much like the remake glove, but the remake glove wouldn't have changed the color scheme this much, so it can't be that much.
I think people are looking at it based
the
purely
bones
on
here.
Yes, and I think they see it very briefly in the teaser. So I think, and because there's a lot of light and shadow in the teaser, you don't see the fine details. It's very different. I mean, this is an original glove. And you'll have the opportunity to actually own one. I mean, it's a limited edition, so I think it's really cool.
The glove is a little bit heavy. Yeah, it's heavier than my Nightmare 4 glove that I have. But Jesse asks, is it going on YouTube? Yes, it will go on YouTube, but we do have a digital download perk. The digital download perk is going to be fun. That's a $10 perk, and the reason I bring it up is because there's something that people don't anticipate in there. You get an HD copy of the movie, you get digital copies of both the teaser and the movie script, you get a digital copy of the score, which is going to include 2 original non-score music tracks, but the biggest thing that you get is something that we recorded, Dave. I don't even know if I told you this, but we recorded a audio or a video commentary of Wes Craven's New Nightmare with myself, with Fuego, with Vince, with Renee, and with Miko.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Miko gave his insight the whole time. So the digital download pack is going to get you that commentary where you can hear Miko talk about the movie while we watch the movie. And he explains how they anchored him in on the top of the rocket when he's reaching for God. He talks about the scene where he's getting pulled down into the grave. He had this amazing story where at one point he's in between the legs of the guy playing his dad, the stiff. And he's like, yeah, I remember saying when I was a kid, when I was stuck between his legs, I was like, whatever you do, don't fart. And it made everyone on the whole audience, like on the set, crack up.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, oh, that's old. So yeah, there's stories like that. So yeah, absolutely. There's stuff in that digital download pack that's worth it. But
what a great addition.
Want to know about that. Yeah. People don't realize that's part of it.
That's awesome. Now, to go back to the trench coat question, you were going to say something there.
So yes, my thought is for the first one, I wasn't going to go for it because the idea is it's a Freddy that's a mashup between New Nightmare and the last group of nightmares. So if you notice, we do carry over the New Nightmare sweater. It is the New Nightmare sweater. It's the red on green instead of the green on red. So we carried that over, but the trench coat, I love the trench coat. Personally, the trench coat is what I think is cool. The coolest Freddy there is, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to work it in yet. It's not part of the first part. I'll say that much.
Okay.
It's not part of the first part. But yeah, now there was another question that I think was worth answering because it was directly about me. Tricky15 asks, will Dave have some creative control over Freddy lines as he is a horror aficionado or script? Early to ask that, I know. Just excited for Dave to have creative control. Well, look, I'll say this before you answer, Dave.
Okay.
I'll say this, and anyone that was involved in the teaser will tell you guys that I am a very open director. I will listen to people's ideas. I will ultimately make the decision based on what I think is best for the project, but I'm definitely open to ideas. So if Dave says, hey, and it's already happened where
Yeah.
Dave and I have had this on the teaser even, where he's like, hey, I think maybe this. And quite frankly, Dave's suggestions, I've implemented basically every one, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dave? Especially towards
I
the end,
think
where you're
so.
like, hey, I think we, I don't think we used the final take. I do want to switch this out, and I want to make sure this is good. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I listened to your take, and you're right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not going to be a stifling kind of director. I will obviously get him to do what's on the script, but if he has other ideas, I'm open to shooting it. Like, I'm the kind of director that's going to try and afford us extra time to allow for that kind of thing. But if Dave comes to it, being a voice actor, if he comes to it with other ideas, then I'm not going to shut him down by any stretch. I mean, I brought him onto the project because of his talent, his skill, his professionalism, but all of that comes with his know-how. And I'm not, why am I going to have him on for his skill and his talent and his professionalism, but ignore his know-how? That wouldn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that very much. It's a very kind words, and thank you to the gentleman's question. No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I mean, I've worked with many directors over the years, and in voiceover, it's the same thing. I mean, voiceover is acting; you're just behind the mic. So I've worked with a lot of directors and producers, and there are many times where I'll read a script or instinctually, because I'm a creative person, I'll think, oh, you know what, maybe I sometimes can see that maybe the director and the producer or the writer are having trouble trying to figure something out or a way to say something, and I'll speak up and I'll say, what about this? And sometimes they go, yeah, you know what, that's good, let's go with that, and sometimes they don't. So the big thing is that I've been hired as an actor. And my job is to do the best I can to interpret the vision of the creative team at hand. And, it's an interesting position to be in because I'm not just an actor. I'm also a creative person, and I make my own little films. And, so I have that extra perspective, which I think actually comes in handy, but the wisdom comes from knowing the difference and what your role is. So Cecil's absolutely right. I mean, I fancy myself sort of the same kind of director. When I go to make It's Me, Billy, if my actress says, I was thinking about what about this? If it works and it's a lot better, or if it's something that's additional and I'm like, you know what, that is really good. Let's get that, right? Because it's a collaborative effort. It's all about what's best for the project. And if it doesn't hinder on my vision too much or what I'm attached to, or, then I'm going to do that too. So the same thing applies here, that if they're working and maybe it's some downtime and they're setting up the camera, they're setting up the track, or they're setting up some lights or whatever, and maybe I'm talking to Miko and we're shooting the shit, and, we sometimes, hey, you know what, why don't I say this? Or why don't I say and then add this? And he said, you know what, that's, we'd go to Cecil and say, here's what we're thinking. And if Cecil says, that's awesome, let's do it, then maybe we'll do it. But it's entirely up to Cecil, and it's his vision. He's the writer, the producer, and the director, and I'm okay with that, right? I mean, this is just a blast to be a part of, right? So no, it's not.
But I'm the kind of director that would absolutely be open to that. Like, yeah. I mean, why not? My two actors are like, hey, we think we can elevate the project by doing it this way. It's like, it's not like you guys are like, let's go do this because we think it's going to make us look better. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everyone on the project, well, ideally, right? You try and assemble a crew where everyone on the project is working towards the same goal of making it as good of a product as you possibly can.
Right.
And like, as long as everyone is on that page, then that's fine. Like, that kind of stuff, it's only going to, and if you come to me and I'm like, I don't know, that's not really where I have it going, then you guys, I'm sure, will take that in stride. But most times I'm going to be like, let's just try it both ways. We have the time. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
That's why I'm the kind of guy that's going to overestimate on time. Like, again, we shot a 1.5-page teaser that came to just under 2 minutes, and we took 4 days to do it. Yeah. Because it was also sort of a getting to know everyone, and we had to shoot all of the interviews for the Indiegogo campaign and stuff like that. So there were other things that we were doing, but at the same time, I didn't want us to feel like, bam, 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 we got to do it. There's no room for creativity. There's no room to breathe. And there's more stories that we're going to be able to do that were fun. Like when Miko shot that scene where he had to wake up all sweaty and heavy breathing. He
Yeah.
was doing burpees before every one of those takes.
Yeah.
And like there were times that he would do burpees and get into the bed like ready to go, and we'd be like, okay, hang on, we got to set the camera. And like he had to come to me and he's like, hey man, can we just kind of be ready to go? Like I'm losing some of my gusto and I'm like, fuck, you're right, thank you, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, let's make sure. I'm like, camera's rolling, let's do this, sound speeding, Miko's still doing his things, we're ready for him when he's go. And so he finishes his burpees, he gets in the camera, and I'm like, action. And we get it done, and we get a beautiful take as a result of it. But yeah, I mean, like that's the kind of collaborative atmosphere and collaborative set that I'm a big fan of. Here's the thing, to liken it to something else stupid that all of us can relate to, when you were assigned a group project in school, how much different was it when you had a group full of people that were into it versus a group full of people that were dragging ass and didn't care?
100%.
Like, you know what I mean? It's the exact same thing. Exact same thing.
Yeah. No, that's a great analogy. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, it's a film is a collaborative effort. And, you know, we're all in this together trying to make the best possible thing that we can. And I'm really excited for it. There was a couple of super chats that came in, which is very nice. I appreciate that. Remember, folks, don't be afraid to take those super chats and put them in the Indiegogo campaign. Just saying. Let's see here. Super chat. I think. I didn't. Hopefully, I didn't miss one here.
I missed one.
Okay. If that's okay, I got him here. Brandon Gregory says, was the guy you had to fire Jackie Earl Haley? Oh, there goes the thing again.
Yeah, it made me laugh too hard. No, that's a legitimate question. No, the guy, I didn't have to fire him. He was actually busy. He's trying to make his own movie, and he's pitching to Lionsgate in the very near future with his movie. So he just didn't have a lot of time. If you want to know who it was, he's actually the guy that played Freddy in our review of the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie and our commentary. He came in his full Freddy garb, and he's actually the reason. He was at Man Monster when I was pitching Miko. So he came with his Freddy costume and to walk around the convention. I was like, oh, perfect. Let me go introduce you to Miko. So when he was Freddy, I went and introduced him to Miko. So I was like, look, we have a legit Freddy costume. But it was it was like kind of a number 4 costume mixed with a kind of cheaper number 1 glove. And as the project snowballed, I was like, no, we need to make our own Freddy. We can't have just piecemeal from other costumes and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, Robert is his name, and he works for Channel 10 News. He's a busy guy. He's trying to do a film career on his own. He just didn't really have the time. He had the teaser script, or no, he had the feature the film script, 20 pages for about 3 months, and he never got around to reading it. So that kind of says a lot to you as a director. Right. So I kind of knew it wasn't going to work out, but I love Robert. He's a great guy. We're still friends, but I'm glad it didn't work out because it led me to Dave, which is where the project was meant to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, no. Mark Williams says, congratulations, Dave. Very excited for the project. Love the teaser trailer. Bravo, gents. Awesome. Thank you for the super chat, Mark. You rock, buddy. Let's see here. Brooke, is it Lee? L-U-I? Am I saying that right? Louis. Sorry,
she
monitor is
down below. Or corrected me,
I'm so sorry, Brooke. The monitor.
She corrected me. I said it. I said Brooke Lou, so it's Brooke Louis.
Oh, okay. All right. It's pronounced Louis. Oh, yes. If I had read the super chat, I would have seen that. Now I'll take it to IGG. So excited. Congrats to all. Thank you so much, Brooke. Much appreciated. You rock. And I think that's it for the super chats.
That's it for the super chats. But Franklin had a good question for you.
Oh, Franklin had a good question for where we are here. Franklin.
About 3 below Brooke there.
3 below Brooke.
Manhattan asks, what are burpees? Burpees are basically you do a push-up and then you jump up and jump into the air. And and then you drop down and do another push-up and then you get up and jump into the air. That's one burpee. And so he was doing those to get his heart rate and his sweat up in between takes.
Very cool. Very cool. Was that the question from?
No, Franklin's question was, I have a question about the Freddy voice. Do you do a deep voice, then it gets altered, or do you do a voice, then deepen it when you alter it? The This Is God example. So this actually evolved even over the course of just the teaser. So I'll let you tackle this one, brother.
Yeah. Okay. So the Freddy voice is interesting. Robert Englund, who obviously is famous for playing Freddy. When you watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street trailer from 1984, there's a scene in that trailer where it's the scene where Freddy's tongue comes out of the phone. And right before that, you hear, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy, right? Well, in the movie, it's very guttural. It's very, I'm your boyfriend now, right? Like, it's very much kind of like that. In the trailer, because often trailers are cut prior to post-production being finished or certain things being done. And it's actually Robert's voice. And Robert is just going, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. So he's not speaking like Robert, but he's got kind of a, hey, what's going on, right? So what they did, and I don't know if it was because Robert couldn't go lower or if it was just a direction. Hey, let's keep you high. We'll do it in post. There could be, a couple of things. But in post, they lowered his pitch, certainly in the first few films. And so with this, now I can definitely go lower, I can, and get down here like this, and all that kind of stuff. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to match sort of, not Robert's voice, but get more of that similar sort of cadence in terms of the pitch.
Well, we tried the deeper one first.
We did.
We tried
the
deeper one first.
Yes, exactly. So what we decided to do was, instead of me, welcome to prime time, bitch, and being down here all the time, which would be difficult to sustain over a course of films as well.
Real quick, so they hear, like, let's get in it, like we're on it. Let's get in it in front of everyone. So right there, you might have heard Dave when he did that. He, welcome to prime time, bitch. Like, to get that low thing, he had to do kind of a bubble thing with his cheeks. Right. A little bit of, like, to get that low, that fat man voice that I can do very naturally. To get that, you have to kind of bubble your cheeks up.
That's right.
And my ear, I can hear that. And I think the audience would be able to hear that too.
Right.
And so that's when we decided to scale it back. So please continue, Dave.
Yes, no, exactly. And, for voiceover, like if this was an animated cartoon and I'm doing Freddy as a cartoon, that's perfect. Right? I can get in there and be all down here like this, and you're all my children now, and I can get all down there, and it makes no difference because the animators can draw Freddy however they want, and I'm just doing the voice. But when I'm actually, and for social commentary on my channels, and it's fun for you guys and for me to get in there, but when you take it to the step of performing Freddy, then it's a different ballgame. And now it becomes, how can we maximize the Freddy cadence and voice without losing the performance of the actor, whoever the actor is that's playing Freddy? In this case, of course, it's me. So what we decided to do was do the traditional route of what they did with Robert and have me come in just a bit higher, right? And then we can lower it a bit in pitch. So it almost lowers to where I am here, but I'm not having to do this, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm actually just speaking normally, but the pitch is lowered to the point where, it's not affecting the tongue. It's not affecting the cheeks. So when the makeup's all on me and I'm just talking, I look normal. And that's what they had to do, because I'm sure if Robert Englund decided to do it, well, I mean, you can watch him like when he does it now. Now he can hit those notes a bit. But so we decided to do the same thing. Have me up a bit higher, lower me in post to where I would be if I was putting on the voice down here, but then I don't have to do this and make all these funny faces that voice actors make, so that's what we decided to do. And I think it's a smart move. It's a smart move to make. And that's what you hear in the teaser. But the important thing is that, like I said to Cecil, I said, and this is the, collaborative thing. I said, I don't want to go too low for two reasons. Number one is it'll sound a bit muddy and it'll sound a little too processed. And number
And you
two
were right on
is,
both accounts because we tried it both ways, and you were
yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah. And then number two was I didn't want to lose the performance in the nuance of Freddy. So when you hear, like, for example, in the teaser, like one of my favorite lines where I say, "and watch," right? Well, in the, like, that performance to get that watch, watch. I don't want to lose that breathy ch on the watch because it's very Freddy. And then when you lower it just a smidgy, it's beautiful. So I didn't want to lose the performance as the character. And that's just doing voiceover. Wait till I get onto the set and I'm doing all, the performance and acting. So that was important to me as a performer. And I bring that to my, director and I say, here's what I'm thinking and here's why. And we were on the same page and we tried it both ways. And Cecil said, yeah, you're right. So what you hear in the teaser is the ballpark of where we're gonna, and it's only going to evolve from that point, but that's sort of where we are.
Let's be real here. The teaser, what you end up hearing in the teaser is Dave's work. Because
no, but
we couldn't get there with what I was doing. So Dave's like, "Can I have a crack at it?" And I was like, yeah. And then he fucking throws back like the perfect take. We're like, oh, well, guess what? Now you get to do all of it, motherfucker.
I don't mind. No, dude, I don't mind, man. I totally said to you when it comes time for post, if you guys want to throw the audio my way, I might need some visual. I'd be more than happy to take a stab at it because it's and how I did that. Actually, it's funny. What I actually did was when I said to you, I sent you a message and I'm like, can I take a stab at it? Because it was a bit muddy. It felt like it was a little too 25 years.
Well,
it was kind of down there, right?
We need to add some high ends to it and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what he means, but I'm going to let him do his thing.
So what I did, which was really cool, actually, what I did was I took one of my favorite Elm Street voices with Freddy, which was from part 2. And I put a clip from Elm Street 2 together with Robert doing his thing. And his voice in that movie is lowered. And so what we did was we did that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So so I put that up there and played it as is. And then what I did was I played the Elm Street 2 clip again, but with my voice underneath, but not with my voice repeating what Robert was saying. I just played the lines that you hear in the teaser, but against the backdrop of having Freddy on screen. Just like the words don't match his lips, but you just see Robert and you hear my new take with higher ends and voice. And when I maybe I'm a bit biased, but when I played it back for myself, I thought, oh, I think this is it. Like it feels, it's not Robert, but it's Freddy, and I sent it to Cecil and he obviously thought the same. And that's what you hear in the teaser, but it's the nuances of that performance I didn't want to lose. And I think we're well on our way to making it work. So.
Agreed. Yeah. And everything just pulled together literally yesterday. Everything was pulled together by the final score. Finally.
Yes.
Oh, God,
and the score. Yeah. Talk a bit more about that. The score. I mean, that's just because I saw like I was performing to the temp track that you had, and then you add this score in there, and I'm like, who that? This is great. This is great. Talk more about that.
It's the same guy that scored Never Hike Alone. So
right.
This is why having Vince on board makes all the difference. It's because of Vince that we're going to have the score we have. It's because of Vince that we have the campaign looking the way that it does. It's because of Vince that we're going to be able to have the Rex doll replicas. It's because of Vince that we have so many different things. He's like producer extraordinaire without even realizing it. But
right.
But yeah, that was just part of it, honestly. And it's just crazy, man, how everything has come together with it. But
that's just awesome. Like that's seriously just awesome. Let's see here. I'm trying to get a
there's a question here kind of following up on what you were just talking about. Grave Warmer asks, did you have the backdrop of the trailer to do the voiceover to, or did you send the voiceover and then they add the score and all of that? It was actually a little bit of all of it. So go ahead.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, it was. ordinarily in voiceover, if a temp track is available or the audio is available or the music, whether I'm doing a commercial or a movie trailer, especially, I've done a few movie trailers in my time, and I will often, if I'm recording from home, which I don't usually do movie trailers from home. I have. I did the It trailer from home. But when I'm doing trailers, if I have to go into
excuse me, let me just pick that massive It dick up off the table that you just left.
I didn't even. I honestly didn't. I was just rolling right along.
I just did the It trailer, moving right along.
I'm moving right along.
My It dick. Anyway.
No. Well, that's actually a funny story. Ask me to tell you about that sometime. But anyway, no, I was so caught up what I was saying. Yeah, that did sound kind of a little weird.
Sorry, anyway. No, I didn't mean to derail you. It's just too hard to avoid.
But what I was doing was if I'm doing, it's not unprecedented for me to say, if I don't have the music, can I have the music? Because that'll help me. Okay, here's the tone, here's the style, because trailers are so nuanced, especially when you're doing the trailer voice. And Freddie has got that nuance to him. It's those subtleties, and so it was a little bit of both. I the first round that I sent Cecil, it was cold, and then eventually the track was up, and I heard it, and I thought, oh, okay, so now when I say, it's time to have some fun. It was a little too, and when I heard what was there, I thought, oh, wait a minute. I think it should be darker. It should be, it's time to have some fun, or something in there.
That was going along the note that I sent along eventually, where I was like, the sing-songy works here, but not quite as much here.
Right.
I love how much we were on the same page as we were. Like, I honestly, I think that's such a huge thing. A director has to be able to have a good, clear line of communication with everyone involved, and specifically 100%. The actors. And I think you and I have that in like a big, bad way, because I am smart enough to know that you have years and years worth of voiceover experience to defer to. But I also know what I want to see, and you're professional enough to know how to work those fucking two things together. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's just going to be so bomb, man.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it just, like, when I heard that, the actual thing, I thought, oh, I need to be darker here. I need to be more here, because now I can hear it, or see the track, because the music, like when the voice comes in and they work in tandem. If the music's building to a crescendo, like, skin the cat, or whatever. I mean, just coming to that point where I wanted to kind of hit that mark and just, and you even said, can I get a little more on the cat? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes.
I was like, that's when the fan's going to happen. I'm like, he's going to go skin the cat,
That's right.
and then I knew I wanted the laugh to echo through when Miko wakes up. Yeah. And so that, it all came together really well. And I was like, just hit that cat really hard for me.
There's another example that when you sent me the last night, or the day, was it? Yeah, I guess it was yesterday. You sent me, hey, here's the final thing. We're going to go live. The laugh that you hear when Miko wakes up, you hear he's waking up from the dream world, and you hear Freddie's laugh echoing and reverbing off into the ether, right? Well, that's my laugh. I mean, that's my laugh. But the first time you sent that to me, I thought you had removed it altogether. Like, I thought, oh, I didn't hear it. And I thought, and I'm playing it again. I'm like, oh, it is there. And I thought maybe it was buried just a little too much. So I said that to you, and you thought, yeah, you know what? I think it kind of is. So that's the kind of, it's good to have those kind of relationships, you can just, now if Cecil had said to me, no, I think it's fucking fine, then I'm like, okay, it's got, but it's
that's
that kind of
thing.
That's not
the director I am. Yeah,
no, I know. But I like just hearing that laugh, I wanted to hear it, as a fan. You see, that's the thing too, is that,
that was a last minute change too. You gave that note in the middle of yesterday.
Yes.
And we got it done. I was like, he's right. I even told him, I was like, I don't know. Let me send it to me. Let me hear your take and let me see. And then I listened to the take and I was like, you're right. We're going to put this in. And then I actually paid Renee off, because Renee was supposed to be working until 10 PM. I'm like, can I just pay off the rest of your day so you can go home and fix this for me? And he's just like, yeah. So I did that because I knew I was that important to get it done in time.
Right.
But yeah, you were 100% right. And now it sounds dope. Now it sounds like
Yeah.
what I wanted it to sound like in my
Yeah.
head, where
Yes.
I was like, there has to be a separation. It can't sound like the rest of the Freddy voice through the whole teaser. It has to be like, now Miko's awake. Now the coloration has gone back to regular. Now Rex is still alive.
Right.
But we still hear the echo. Like that was always a staple for Freddy movies.
Right.
His laugh carrying into the reality.
100%. And when I was listening and watching, like I loved everything about the teaser. And when it came to that
I was so excited to stick with that, by the way.
Yeah. Like
as a director, to hear how into it you were, I was like so jazzed.
I was so into it because now I'm watching it as a fan as well. And so there's the moment where I'm like, oh, I guess my laugh was removed. But then when I went into my studio, because I first saw it on my phone. And then when I went into my studio here and I'm listening to it on my monitors, I could hear it, but it was very buried. And now I'm not even thinking as an actor. I'm thinking as a fan. I'm like, oh, I want to hear that. I want to hear that, ha, 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 and just trailing off. And I want to hear that, and so I made the recommendation and I was so happy that because now when you resent it to me at like 2:00 in the morning and I listened to it, I got goosebumps. Like it's me, but I got goosebumps hearing it because now I'm like, oh, I can hear it. Like he's back. He's back.
Can I be honest with you, dude? Can I be honest with you? And this is going to be a bit of embarrassing for me. This happens to me with projects that are this happened to me with my first film that I ever made, which was a 15-minute short film. It was way bigger than I should have made it for a first short film. It was 15 minutes. And when I finished putting the score and the final mix, and I watched the final mix, something happened. And when I watched the final mix of this, the same thing happened. I was standing. I wasn't sitting like I am now because this is a stand-up, sit-down desk. So I try and stand up as much as I can, as much editing as I do in this goddamn place.
Right.
But I was watching it, and everything happened, and I heard the laugh as it was, and the score was as good as it was. And I literally, my lower lip started to quiver, and I was like, oh my God, it actually happened. and I started to cry. Tears started to come out of my face. I was like, I can't believe it actually came together and on time and in such a way. Because even from the first cut of the teaser to this, there were 4 iterations. And I was not satisfied with the first iteration. I was not happy with.
Do you mean 4 iterations in terms of the picture lock, like different scenes or different?
Yep. No. I mean, four. Yeah. I mean, color wise, it was mostly color.
Right.
But there were some things like we hung on the glove too long before the fan at one point. So we had to trim that up. There was a point at which when Miko first woke up that he was looking dead set into camera for 17 frames. So I had to drop that down. Right. We did little tweaks like that. So yes, but when I watched it the first time, I did not get emotional swell. When I watched it the last time with the score, with your voice finalized, with the cuts picture locked, I got that swell, and I just couldn't hold it in, and I literally pulled out my phone because the vlog series, I got shit from Jay. The vlog series starts with me talking to Jay via Skype from Bloodbath and Beyond, another big YouTube channel. He's got like 90,000 subs at this point.
That's awesome.
And I was giving him updates along the way because we started our channels at the same time and we're close friends. So I was giving him updates and he's like, hey, you're vlogging all these, right? And I was like, shit. So that's how the vlog series starts, was that with moment. And so I go back and I tell the whole story. But yeah, like all these things. So I whipped out my phone and I started recording myself. I was like, I just watched the final teaser and this is the result. So I can show everyone how much it affected me. But that's how much this shit means to me. You know what I mean?
Dude, I don't think that's embarrassing. I mean, I understand why it's embarrassing, but I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, when you work so hard on something and you see it, especially like when you, I get it. I mean, I get like when you write a script and the same thing's going to happen. And I know it happened for the teaser. I wasn't there. I couldn't be there, unfortunately, because I had prior commitments, or I would have been there. But although I wasn't there, I know this happened, and because I just know there was moments, whether it was fleeting or not, when you were shooting the teaser and you looked around and you thought, and you saw the camera and you saw Miko and you saw Vince and you saw the lighting and you're looking around and you're going, Jesus fucking Christ, we're actually doing this. We're actually going to do this, and it's going to happen again.
Every single day, producer Dave and I sat down and he had to deal with me so much going like, I can't believe this is fucking happening right now. And Dave was just like constantly like, I can't either. It's going way better than I thought it would.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and you know what? The same thing's going to happen when I arrive in Phoenix and everybody's there, and the same thing's going to happen. You're going to have those moments because, people who may not work in the film industry but you can certainly relate to this in any facet of like certain, you can absolutely draw parallels with things in your own life. When you work so hard on something and it almost becomes it feels like a dream, and no pun intended, but it feels
100%.
sort of like you're just constantly working, and all of a sudden there's that moment where it's happening. Oh my God, this is happening. This is really happening. That whole thing I was writing and working about, and I'd go to bed at night. It was the last thing I'd think of when I went to bed. It was the first thing I think of when I'd get up. I'd have dreams. And now it's happening. And I've had that happen. I've had it happen.
Piggybacking on that, even it becomes even more ethereal at that point because it's like you're leading up to this massive moment, and I'm going through it right now because of the campaign launching.
Right.
So I'm leading up. I'm spending months and months leading up and doing all this pre-prep, and now we're on set and it's happening. And I feel like to mix metaphors here, I feel kind of like a person that his present is passing through him, not unlike the train in Ghostbusters 2, where you're like, you can't grasp it. I'm not scared of it. Right. I'm trying to grasp these moments, but it's happening so fast that I can't even grasp these moments. And suddenly the week is done, and then the short is filmed, and now it's in editing mode, and now it's crunch time for score, and now it's this and that.
Right.
And it's like, I'm on to the next thing. I don't get a chance to really sit. And that's why it's interesting attacking this from the YouTuber standpoint.
Right.
Because I'm doing it where like I'm filming it all, and it's all content for my channel. And this is going to allow me to go back and live it through different eyes, through the camera's eyes, where I wasn't able to absorb it at the time. I can now go back and absorb it through our behind the scenes specials and our interviews and stuff like that. So it's such a weird thing, but it's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it is. It's there's a few people in the chat. I guess I had mentioned Phoenix, and some people are like, well, I guess that answers my question. Filming in Phoenix, yeah. Well, and that makes sense though too, because Phoenix is a desert state essentially, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I believe the actual film, the actual narrative of the series takes place in Springwood, Ohio. Yeah. Is it Ohio? I think is that where it's
I'm not sure if it's Ohio. It might be.
I think it's somewhere out there. But Wes Craven's New Nightmare, does that not take place in Los Angeles?
It does.
It does, right. So Phoenix.
The earthquakes, remember when all the earthquakes were going on?
Right, exactly.
Use it as a backdrop for the film. By the way, you and I still need to do a commentary too.
Yes,
because I can't put the other commentary on the channel because we had the sound of the movie piping in, so it gets blocked.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, no,
I can
cool.
put commentary that you and I do up on the channel. So we need to do that.
Yeah, cool. So Phoenix actually works because you can totally shoot in certain areas of Arizona, and you could totally say that you were in Los Angeles and people would believe it. So that's why it works. So that's why
the house we filmed was surrounded by palm trees. It looks like a California house.
100%.
Like it's crazy that we got that's Central Phoenix. That's 44th Street and Thomas, which means nothing to anyone else except that it's Central Phoenix. I got over here. Oh, do I need anything? No, I'm good. Thank you.
There it goes. Sorry. I love it. I love every time take a drink every time the phone falls.
I think it happens every time I take a drink, basically.
That's great. So yeah, any other questions from the chat room, guys? We've been on for about an hour and a half now, so we'll be wrapping up soon. But if you have any other questions that you want to ask in regards to the Indiegogo campaign, in regards to the movie, the potential of where this could go, anything about anything. I mean, anything at all. Feel free to fire away any questions you have. This is your opportunity. This is Cecil Laird, the writer, director, and producer of Dylan's New Nightmare. So this is and Cecil will be on my channel again, but this is your chance to ask any concerns you have about the campaign. Maybe there's a question like, oh, I don't know about that. And, does that mean that? Or, if I donate that, will I get this? Any questions whatsoever. This is your opportunity to get firsthand knowledge right from tech support of Dylan's New Nightmare. So I'm just scrolling back. Yeah, just scrolling back here. David says, "Oh wow, is that Miko in the teaser?" It is. It is him.
It is. Indeed.
David says, "How did you guys find a Rex stuffed animal that looks so close to the one from New Nightmare? Both the one in the teaser and the perks for the Indiegogo." Cecil, take it away.
I will tell you, that was a really, really, really hard thing to do. What we did was we went to Miko, and Miko had one. So
amazing.
Basically, Miko still had 2 undamaged and 1 damaged Rexes from the original New Nightmare movie. So
right.
he had them. He had 1 damaged, so that was the one that we used, obviously. Because even at the end of New Nightmare, he's damaged even more than he was earlier, but it's still the same 4 cuts.
Right.
From earlier in the movie. It's just a lot of the stuffing is strewn everywhere. So the idea is that Dylan sewed him up and kept Rex because Rex was the only thing that actually prevented him from Freddy. So that's why he's kept him all these years. Rex is still the guardian. Rex is still the thing that Freddy has to get past.
Yeah, I'm gonna tear Rex apart.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, even Miko asked. He's like, "Is it too much to think that he still has Rex?" And I'm like, "No." Because Rex was literally the only thing that saved him on a nightly basis. So he would keep. And so for the teaser, we're going to rein it in a little bit. We actually have a couple of ideas where there might be a scene where he has a girl over and she notices that there's a dinosaur tail sticking out from underneath the bed. So he keeps Rex under the bed.
Right.
And so she's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." But there's a whole thing where there's a whole dream sequence, and I can't say what it is because it might be one of the extra kills. But there's a lot of really cool stuff that we can do in this film that are throwbacks to Julie, throwbacks to Tina. There's some stuff that we can do. There's some stuff that we can do if people support this thing. But yeah, I mean, Rex, when Miko said that he had Rexes, we started to fold that in. Miko also happens to have the entire park setup from when he tries to reach God and he climbs up on the rocket. He has that entire park at his parents' house in LA. So we could conceivably do a dream sequence where he is, as he is now, standing on that rocket reaching for God like he was as a little boy in New Nightmare. There's so much cool stuff that we can do that we will do if everyone jumps on board for this. Do you know what I mean?
That's right, guys. And the goal for this is to bring a level of credibility in terms of the people involved, the production value. I mean, it's the bar's been set by Vince and Never Hike Alone, and of course he's doing his stuff with that, and that's the level of production value and execution that we're talking about here. And of course it's only possible when we have the money to for the film, and it's I mean, it's not an easy thing to make films, but it's certainly it can be a lot of fun and very rewarding as well. And I'm just so happy to be on board and be a part of this project. In many ways, it's a dream role. I mean, if you think about it, and like you've said too. I mean, and I don't know, so I stand to be corrected. I know there are other Elm Street fan films online. I know there are. But to this level, I don't think there is. And that's exciting to me. And to have an opportunity
I would agree, but I'm a bit biased, I think.
Right. So, and I'm not sure. There are, and that doesn't mean that there aren't good ones. There might be. But this is a different level, and I think. And to be able to have the opportunity to bring the, Freddie back in a way that, there's a lot of pressure there. I feel like, there's a lot of pressure, but it's good.
Do you
pressure.
feel that's a good question. Let's talk about that, because I feel like I've been talking. Yeah. Do you feel pressure? Are you worried about the people? Because I'll be honest, Dave, we already had one comment that was like, not a fan of the voice. How does that affect you? Does that bother you at all? Or like, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, everyone's here for you. So let's get your thoughts on all this rather than just mine.
Well, no, it doesn't affect me because, I've been in this business long enough to know that not everybody's going to like what you do. Not everybody's going to like what you do. There is already an emotional attachment to Robert Englund. There are people, believe it or not, some maybe even still watching this. I can't believe it's almost 1:30 in the morning. We still have 123 people watching. You guys are amazing. There are, and maybe some are even in the chat right now. And I understand it. I respect it. I totally get it. That there are people that believe that nobody else could ever play Freddy Krueger other than Robert Englund. There is not an actor on the face of the planet that could ever do Freddy Krueger. I don't subscribe to that because I don't even think Robert Englund subscribes to that, because I think what it comes down to is not doing Robert Englund. It's doing Freddy Krueger. And if Freddy Krueger's look can evolve over the years, I mean, he looks very different from New Nightmare than he does from, part 2 or 3 or 4. He looks very different from every movie, really. Then I think the voice can also evolve a bit. But the trick is bringing the essence of the voice there. But it's not going to please, you're not going to please everybody. There are going to be people that are going to watch me. When the movie's done, it's up online, it's all done. It's woohoo, it's celebration, it's cake, it's cookies, it's, whatever. And it's up online. There will be people that will watch it and go, I don't like it. And not just me. There's going to be people that are not going to like the movie. There's going to be people that go, I don't fucking like this movie. I think it's a piece of shit. That is going to happen. That's just the nature of putting yourself out there and putting yourself out to the world. The thing is that it's you for me, my job is to bring the essence of Freddy there. And if you can look at me, if you can watch this 30-minute movie and look at me when I appear on screen and the performance and go, I believe that's Freddy. It's not Robert Englund. It's not Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's not, but that is Freddy Krueger, and then I've done my job, and but not everybody's going to like it, so I take it, it's like my channel, I get 98% of the people that watch me and comment are wonderful people, great people, but you get your trolls, right? And now I've began actually commenting back to the trolls, just saying that I agree with them. There'll be people who go, can't fucking stand you. You're so annoying. I go, I know. I can't stand me either. And I find that's the best way to do it. But so it doesn't bother me. I have pretty thick skin. You kind of have to, especially when you put yourself out there online, and I'm a thick skin kind of person anyway. So yeah, it is what it is. If somebody said, I didn't like the voice, well, they didn't like it, but maybe they will when they see my face to the voice, to see the performance and the holster stance and the the facial expressions and the eyes. Maybe you'll think differently when you see the eyes, and who knows, go along, because it's very different than hearing the voice and then seeing the voice with the performance and the body language and the character. But we'll see. So anyway, that was long-winded, but that's how I feel about it. It doesn't really affect me, because I already know that there's going to be people that aren't going to like it. So. Do you feel the same way about that? Like, how do you handle that?
I'm not too terribly worried about it. Hey, Dave, can you come here for just a second? Dave, I'm going to put you on with Dave, the producer, just real quick, because
sure,
my back teeth are floating. So I got to go use the little boys' room real quick just to go pee.
All
so
right.
Dave, I'm looking at Dave, the Freddy. So you were there on set. Go ahead and give your insight real quick.
My insight.
Yeah, your insight.
Awesome stuff. Welcome, Dave. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
How you doing? Nice. This is our first time actually meeting, for all intents and purposes.
how did I get in this box?
you're in a
That's my
box.
Wayne's- That was my
Yes.
Wayne's World reference.
I gotcha. Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself and your job and what it is that you do with the horror show, but also with this new project that we got going on.
Yeah, so I've known Cecil for a long time. We've been film partners since forever, so going on 20 years.
That's amazing.
And basically, about 5.5 years ago, I was working with another director, and we were doing some direct to DVD at the time,
Right.
films. And there wasn't a lot of support for the independent horror community on YouTube. And it was something when we were trying to promote our films, there wasn't a lot of channels like there are now of, the horror fans doing the job of making sure we don't let any of these great horror films slip through the cracks.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, lots of people put a lot of hard work into art, and you can very easily say, hey, that art sucks. But it's a lot easier to say, hey, man, you guys, it looks like you worked really hard on that. Wasn't my taste. I didn't like it that much. But congratulations for completing something, because that's
right.
90% of art ends up in the drawing room, and we don't get it out there. And so he kind of mentioned to me that Cecil's was this expert at horror. I mean, Cecil's been a horror expert my whole life. I'm not the horror expert. But Cecil had this passion. And so we kind of pitched him this idea of maybe just reviewing independent horror films that come out. And Cecil came back with the pitch of, no, wait a second. How about a variety show where we do sketches and we do reviews and we do reactions? And the original guy we were talking to, that really wasn't what he was interested in doing. But nonetheless, we got it going. I was there with Cecil. Actually, almost everybody who's been here since the beginning has been here the whole time. It's all of our friends and our family basically now.
That's awesome.
And
that's awesome.
The basic premise was to not only get access to other filmmakers, but to generate a audience that could one day be promoted to, for not only our own projects, but projects that, are all across the world, maybe.
Sure.
With independent horror, everybody needs somebody to say, hey, I watched your independent horror movie. It was great. It's probably not getting a lot of traction. So, hey, let me throw my 25,000 viewers at it, or whatever it may be, millions of viewers.
Right.
And that was really what the heart of this show was created, on
That's
my
awesome.
end. Cecil had a vision for this show, but mine was just a seed of an idea. I was just like, hey, I'll help you out with a lot of the logistics, teach you how to edit, do all of the stuff that, well, you're going to teach yourself mostly. But,
right.
And we had an old editing system. Oh my God. That was way back on the Callister days. I mean, we've been making little sword fight videos and, Pinnacle Studios. I mean, we've been doing this since before I graduated college. And in his college, we did our first shorts and stuff like that. So basically, at some point, we realized that not only does having the channel sort of empower us to seek out other creatives, but we could go to these conventions now and bring a camera and interview people and actually start getting to talk to people. And really, that's how this came about. This is how real world movie making happens.
Right.
Is you run into an actor, you run into a producer, you run into a director of photography. You're all at the same place. You're at an awards show or you're at a convention.
Right.
And you say, hey, what would you think about doing something like this? And then over the course of a year, basically it took, the project came together, and now it's launched, and we're really excited about it. I'm personally I'm very scared because it's a lot of responsibility that we're taking under, and I like being behind the scenes. I don't like being on the camera at all. So this
gotcha.
Good thing Cecil had to pee. but I'm really excited to work with you and Miko and Vince. We got to work with Vince and Renee a little bit on the I Disappear video, the Disappear video.
Right.
And
which was beautiful, by the way. Excellent.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Renee and Vince work really well with us, and they're great creatives too.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited for this project. I'm excited for Cecil because this is he doesn't have any children. This is his new child.
I get it.
He
I
just,
totally
he just
get
had
it.
the announcement, and in 9 months to a year, he's going to give birth to it, and
He's having a baby.
So we all got to be there to support him for this
Right.
journey.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm really excited that you're going to bring your heart and soul to this too, because I feel like everybody is part of that sort of
Yes.
mentality. And so it's really exciting, and I'm excited.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate you stepping in and introducing yourself, and I think that's awesome. I can't wait to meet you and work on the project. I think this is going to be an absolute blast. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. In fact, you and I should communicate at some point about logistics and all those other things, because I'm going to
Sure.
try to be helping Cecil with a lot of that.
okay,
So
sounds
cool.
good.
All right.
Sounds good. All right, Dave. Take care. Have a good night.
Oh God,
Dave,
oh God.
the producer,
God.
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. It's okay.
I think that's about the 38th time that thing has crashed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'm just making that up. Oh my God! Ah, it's a cat.
Yeah, that's Thorn.
A thorn. Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
All right,
'cause I have
well,
Pete Rose and I have Thorn. Yeah.
let's go. Let's see. It's almost 1:30 a.m. here, so another 6 minutes. Let's go for another 6 minutes or so, and that'll give us some time to wind down and wrap up. So, any last questions you have for Cecil or myself in regards to Dylan's new nightmare? Feel free to fire away. Don't worry, we will have Cecil on the channel again, and I'll be on his channel as well as this project continues to move forward with some juicy, behind the scenes stuff and anecdotal stuff, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, but any last sort of questions you guys have, feel free to fire it off. Anything about the Indiegogo campaign or the project as a whole, this is your opportunity here. It's hard to believe it's almost 1:30 in the morning here. It's a good thing I do most of my work from home.
Man, I appreciate you hanging in there for me, because
Yeah, no
you
problem.
certainly have an audience that hangs in there longer than mine does. So
No, that's okay.
let's see. We have. So when did the project come about? What's the hardest part in creating a project like Dylan's New Nightmare? I'll tackle the second part, because when the project came about, we kind of tackled that earlier. It started all the way back in January of this year, and I'm going to be covering the whole process in a series of vlogs on my horror show channel. So make sure you go subscribe if you're interested in those. But what is the hardest part in creating a project like this? I would say here's well, I have an answer that this would be the hardest part for most people, but it's not really the hardest part for me, because this is kind of what I find myself excelling at, and that is overseeing all the pieces. Like, as a director, I found this out because I always kind of wanted to be a director, but I didn't even know exactly what that meant. Even in college, when I was trying to get my, marketing degree so I could direct movies, I still didn't know. The director has to be the guy that can answer any question anyone poses at any time.
Right.
And like, I didn't realize that I try to position myself as that guy in most situations anyway, because it's a personality flaw, but I have always been sort of a pseudo, and I admit it, and it's stuff that I'm working on, but I've been a sort of a pseudo know-it-all. But when I know that I don't know something and someone else does, I'm the first person to go, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'm so glad to know that." So
Right.
It's weird. It's that weird dichotomy where
Right.
I come off as pompous, but I'm also very not so when it comes to the times when I shouldn't be. It's very weird.
No, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
But overseeing everything would be a really hard task for someone that can't deal with stress, because literally all the way up, like, I've been planning this since January. We decided on the October 14th. I decided on the October 14th launch date 4 months prior. And so everything was leading to it. And I got everything to the point where all of it was done, except we were literally having score finished on Sunday morning. And then I sent it to Dave, and we had to fix I had to put in his most recent take of Freddy because it was better. And so, like, literally the day before we're due to launch, after all this time, I'm still making tweaks. I didn't even actually get the teaser output until 6 a.m. this morning, like the current teaser that you see. So that is where a lot of people would not be able to handle it, stress wise. But
Right.
I never let it get to me. I never let it get to me. I'm at the point. I learned another valuable lesson from my father. We started talking about fathers. It's appropriate we maybe end with it.
That's true. Yeah. Good idea.
My father said, and now I've just forgotten going to the father line. What was I just about to lead into? What was I saying?
You were talking about stress and talking about,
Okay,
overseeing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, one of the things that he said to me that stuck with me my whole life since is, worry is interest paid on a debt that may never come due. So don't worry about something until you absolutely have to, because all you're doing is stressing yourself out when you might not need to. And if that bad thing happens, then you're going to have to deal with those emotions anyway. Why put yourself through those emotions early when you don't have to?
Right.
So that's the way I try and live my life. Don't freak out until you absolutely have to. So even though I was waiting, I was like, okay, I'm going to pay Renee to not have to finish his shift so he can go home and finish the trailer and we can get this thing done. It started to be 11:30 last night, and I was so tired that I just couldn't wait until Dave finished the edits that I needed him to finish. So I went to sleep, and then I just woke up at 6 to finish everything up. Like, I just was like, I refused to let it ruin me, because all that does is affect the final product when you let it affect you that way.
Right.
So you have to be like, okay, look, I was aiming for October 14th. I'm going to make October 14th happen, but I'm not going to flip out because it's not happening at midnight like I want. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to stress. I'm not going to freak out, because then I'll make mistakes when I'm trying to finish the last little details, and that's even worse. So that would be the thing that's hardest, is not letting yourself stress out over all the little things that you have to kind of oversee. Although if you're a really good director, then you've delegated, right? And you have the crew to delegate too. And that's where I'm trying to get to. But at the same time, I have a hard time letting go. Like, I'm like Homer grappling Bart around the neck, going like, I still have to have full control. But I'm like,
that's right.
I'm like slowly letting go of that grip, because I know the value of having the right team in place. And that's why I wanted to get Vince. That's why I wanted to get Renee. I don't have to oversee these guys. They know what they're doing in their department, and I can focus on the directing. I can pull Miko aside and be like, okay, we have a bunch of different things we can do when you sit up. Let's talk about these things. We have a few different lines we can do. Like, we sat and talked for almost 45 minutes about the different things he could say, and we ultimately just ended up doing what was in the script because it was just the best thing.
Right.
So it's, but I love it. I love all of that. But yeah, that would, I think, be, because I maybe it's just the people I surround myself with that they're high anxiety. They don't deal with stress well. So I think the people around me wouldn't be able to handle that. So that's why I say that might be the hardest thing. But the hardest thing that I perceive might not be the hardest thing for you. Like, you, Dave, what do you think? You've seen it from a certain perspective, and I've come to you when I've been dealing with stuff. So, like, what do you think is, well, you're about to do It's Me, Billy. So what do you think is going to be the hardest thing as a driving creative force to deal with?
I think it's the same sort of thing. We were I was having this conversation with Bruce, is that, when you're independent filmmakers, depending on it's so imperative that you have a crew that is experienced in each of the roles and jobs that they have, so you can focus on your job directing or working with the actors. Now, as a director, it's your set, and that doesn't mean that there's not going to be an issue or problem that comes up that has to take your, attention away, and you got to go over here or something. But you're not constantly having to teach somebody or shadow somebody in being a DP or being a producer or being a first AD or being a boom operator or, whatever the case is, because they are experienced in those roles. So like you just said, you can go off and do those things. It's the same thing. I think you would find a lot of independent filmmakers will say the same thing. Sometimes you do short films that is more guerrilla, and you are director, producer. Yes. Same with me. You're the director, the writer, the producer, the actor, the DP,
cinematographer, right?
Right, exactly. And as fun as that is, in terms of you have full creative control in, it's very hands-on. And so it becomes very sort of, but that's not necessarily a good thing, because you cannot focus solely on, the jobs that you need to focus on. So I think it's the same for me. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. We completed the first draft of It's Me, Billy. We're happy about it. We're letting it sit for, about a week, and then we'll go back and start the second draft. And we even said, we had this conversation. We point blank said to each other, we said, do we want to shoot this ourselves? Because we know how to do it, and we could do it. But I said to Bruce, I said, you know what? No, let's get a DP, and let's get somebody, because we're thinking of either shooting on the Red or the Ariel Exa or something, and that's a different beast altogether. I mean, you need somebody who knows how to do that. And I said to my buddy, I said, and then we can focus on the actor, and the performances and the set, and you work side by side with your DP, but it's that compartmentalizing becomes so much easier when you have people who know what they're doing in the different jobs. So I would say the exact same thing. That's the toughest thing, is just handling the set. When you are you see, my job, I can just focus on Freddie. I can just focus on, I don't have to focus on shooting me. I don't have to look through the lens and go, I don't know about that. No, I don't have to do that. I can just solely focus on, but your job is a lot harder than my job in a bigger picture sort of thing.
You think so, but that's the weird thing. Like, I do think that certain people are just kind of born to a certain personality, and I think I just have the personality of a director, which unfortunately means in some circles it's kind of an asshole. But like, you have to have a degree of that, because you have to have a belief in your vision, and you have to have a degree of like, guys, just trust my vision and help me achieve it, and we'll all go somewhere. And like, I don't pretend to be like, just trust my vision and we'll all go somewhere. There's a degree of that, but at the same time, I'm very collaborative, and I acknowledge to Vince, like I told Vince going into it, I'm like, Vince, if you feel like there's something that could be done better, you've done the directing on a bigger scale than I have. Yes, we made a fan film called Sweet. Yes, we've made 3,000 episodes of the horror show, but that's a webcam turning it on. You know what I mean? Making sure pretty things are behind me. That's different. And so Vince has more experience, and so I'm like, step in and don't. And so there were times that a less confident person, a less confident director would say, hey, you guys are stepping on my job. Right. But like, that's not, and even Dave pointed it out. He's like, I was getting upset because I felt like they were doing part of your job. And I'm like, but if you notice, I was open to it every time. I'm like, no, let me hear you out. And even there was a time in which Renee wanted to do something that I did not agree with. Right. He was like, well, why do you want it this way? And I'm like, just because I think it's going to flow better. I think that's what makes sense. And he's like, ultimately, it was one of those things where he was like, okay, we'll do it your way. The director. And I was like, yes, let's do it this way. And I think it was better for the movie. But that was us. That's also why I got us extra time to film this, because I knew there was a period of adjustment where we'd be learning each other's style. And Renee, someone in a recent stream, I think it was because CP did a stream and Fuego was talking about things a little bit. Right. We did the exteriors, and when we did the exteriors, we happened to have 1 week. Like, Arizona is very, very lackluster when it comes to rain, but there is a monsoon season. There is a monsoon season, which is August and September, and it just so happened that we were filming this. And we had a surprisingly dry monsoon season, but we just so happened to film this the week where it was supposed to be raining sporadically through the entire week.
Right.
And so we did the exterior shots, and we saw the clouds incoming. We were like, we don't have a lot of time. Let's get these. And basically, we finally got everything set up and lit correctly because, again, you're pitch black at night, and you have to light the house where it looks like moonlight, not where it looks like light.
Right.
And so you set that up, and it takes a long time to get it to look right because we had lights set up in the back of the house in the backyard to illuminate palm trees that you would see in that wide shot in the background.
Now,
Now,
what time at night was this?
Well, that's the funny thing. The first time we were filming it, I wanted to film it first thing because I didn't want the lights to be up because we filmed everything at an Airbnb.
Right.
I put everyone up at this Airbnb and we filmed at the Airbnb because it's ultimately you're conserving money. I spent money on a luxury Airbnb. I spent like $1,700 on this Airbnb, but it was 5 days. Right. And when you consider how much it would have cost to put Miko, Renee, and Vince up in hotel rooms, plus paying for the location, you're easily at $1,700 plus a good amount more.
Right.
So I just got the Airbnb to handle it all. And so we didn't want to have the lights on late. So we wanted to film it quickly. So we filmed it first dark and then the rain came. So we basically rushed through the 2 exterior shots. And unfortunately, it left some wobble on the track. Okay. And so Dave said, I can fix it in post. And Renee wouldn't let it sit because Renee is a perfectionist.
Of course.
But that's part of why I wanted Renee. And he's like, even if I have to go out by myself, I'm going to refilm those that one exterior shot at least. Yeah. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. I'll do it. I'll help you, And then we went late. We filmed real late. And so we didn't end up breaking from regular filming until probably 2:30, 3 a.m. Right. And Renee's like, I want to do the exteriors. Everyone else was gone. Everyone was, some people were gone to go to sleep. Some people were taking walks because they were frustrated, standard film set thing. But everyone was working. And so I was out there. It was myself, the other production assistant that was there the whole time, and Renee, and we were moving lights. We were setting it up. And we didn't film the exterior shots that you see in the teaser until 4:30 a.m.
Wow.
So the ones that you see in the teaser at the very end, we refilmed both shots, not just the one that he felt was wobbly, but the one pushing in on the house. We refilmed both of them. We reset up all the lights for both of them. At 4 to 4:30 in the morning, we filmed those exterior shots just before it started to get light out again.
Now, did you have any issues with any neighbors with the lights?
Nope, no issues. No, we just focused them on the house, and we didn't have any trouble. And it's crazy how well it worked out. Like, this is that's the thing. Like, we were trying to be as professional as we can, but quite honestly, if you understand this, you maintain the spirit of the guerrilla independent filmmaker.
That's right.
Because that's how you truly get things done. Like, Hollywood does things well and professionally, and they have the money to do it 40 million times. But independent still have to maintain a level of that guerrilla filmmaking where you're like, we got to push through, but we got to make sure we get it. We got to make sure we get it. So everyone,
you're bang on.
Focus. Let's do it right.
Yep. No, you're bang on. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's the spirit of the guerrilla filmmaker that you must not lose, because like you just said, that is how you persevere and push through those trying times where you feel like you want to give up, or you feel like, damn it, and listen, what Renee did going out at 4, I've done similar things like that, gone back where I've been in post and the location's like an hour and a half away, and I realize, oh my God, I didn't get that one shot. Well, it's easy to say, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that one shot. Is it really necessary? Well, no, it's not necessary, but I want it.
And it'll make the product better.
And it will make the product better. So what do? You jump in the car, you put all your camera gear in, and you drive an hour and a half down there, and you go back for one shot that ends up being 4 seconds, and that's what I try to tell people too, is that when people get all, their arms up all in the air when it comes to big budget Hollywood films and say, well, they're going back, for reshoots. That must mean that there's a problem. It doesn't necessarily, I mean, it might, but 99% of the times it doesn't mean that. It means that when you get into post, there's a lot of times you go, well, you know what? We should have had that. And now studios budget for reshoots. They actually have in their budget, they'll put money aside for reshoots because sometimes you do have to go back out and get that one extra thing or that thing we couldn't get, or we'll make this better if we had. Happens all the time. It happens on the independent level as well. And kudos to Renee. I think that's awesome. That goes to show you the passion he has for his work and the perfectionist that he wanted the shot right. He wanted to get the shot, and I have the time to do it. It's still 4:30. It's dark. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's amazing.
And he's that kind of persevering guy. Like, same with Disappear. Like, if you guys didn't know, producer Dave, who just popped on, and myself, we helped Vince shoot the Disappear, the Friday the 13th Never Hike Alone music video that he dropped on September 13th. Yeah. And we went to, Mormon Lake, which was the location was about 10 minutes from my mom's cabin in Flagstaff, or Mormon Lake. So it worked out really well. We had a place to stay, but we went and we filmed for 2 days straight.
Right.
And there were a couple of shots, interstitials, that were just going to be filming one of the empty cabins, except we had strung up little flags that said Camp Crystal Lake to, to sell it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we didn't have time those 2 days to actually get those shots.
That's right.
Renee took the camera and went up with one other guy himself after the production was done, just went up the next day and just got those shots for the interstitials. And Renee does what needs to get done to make the project better. And even on the editing side, like, he edited the project too. And he went back and he tweaked when we were like, no, we need to do this to get the look that we had, like the red look in the final trailer teaser. It was much more orange. And then Vince was like, we can do it like this. We'll just overlay the red, but we lost all the green when we did it the way Vince did it. So Renee took the time. Oh, Renee's on right now. Good. Renee took the time to do like 5 layers of compositing to make sure that just the top turned red and the green stayed under the bed. And that took him like 2 days, just making sure that all of those colors worked well. Like, Renee is a fucking workhorse, and he makes sure shit is done right. Like, that's why I got Renee on the project. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Well, that goes back to what...
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that goes back to what I said, at the beginning of the stream, which is half the battle of success is surrounding yourself with the right people. And that's really important.
Just real quick. Renee's on, and he said, don't forget the bear. So when Renee went back to shoot those interstitials for the Disappear music video, he actually got a shot where there was a live bear, like 60 yards, 60 yards from them, just walking through. Like, they could have literally been in mortal danger, and they didn't even realize it. They were just shooting amongst bears.
60 yards is really close.
Dude, it was really in close. The background. You saw it walk through in the shot where it was the wide of Jason's cabin.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So you actually can see it. You actually can see it.
He has a picture of it. Yeah, he grabbed a still of the bear in the background at one point.
But can you see it in the music video?
No, it's not in the music video.
Oh, okay.
It's in the BTS. So.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. All right, well, let's wrap it up there because we've been on for a bit. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. This has been quite the stream, but a very informative stream. Cecil, thanks for coming on and talking some Dylan's new Nightmare. This is an exciting project. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of it, and I can't wait to don the glove and the fedora. I just think this is going to be a lot of fun. And of course, we will have Cecil on the channel again very soon. And folks, do not forget, if you can, to help donate to the Indiegogo campaign. The link is in the description to Dylan's new Nightmare Indiegogo campaign. There is a certain goal that we'd love to reach to be able to bring you a production value that not only we can be proud of working on the film, but you guys, the fans, can be proud of as well, to bring Freddy Krueger back, maybe not to the big screen, but certainly to the small screen. And that's something that we're really excited about. So check out the perks. The perks are amazing. And, if you have questions directly for Cecil, don't be afraid to reach out via the horror channel as well. And just YouTube the horror channel. Your logo is green, right? Green with...
It's green, yeah. The Horror Show channel on YouTube, you'll find us right
the
away.
Horror Show,
We
that's right.
have over 3,000 episodes at this point. We put up a new episode every day. And
Awesome.
actually, during this 30-day period of the Indiegogo campaign, we have one nightmare-themed episode every single day. So we're going to be reviewing all the Nightmare movies. We're going to be reviewing all of the Nightmare comic books. There's going to be about 7 different episodes covering all the Nightmare on Elm Street comic books that have ever been in existence, including 2 comic books that were put out by Marvel itself. So I'm going to be able to label that Marvel's Freddy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and then there's a ton of stuff for Dylan's New Nightmare. I do my initial unboxing of the new glove itself. I do an unboxing of the original Rex, which, if you guys didn't know, the original Rex was modeled off of a red Applause Rex dinosaur. So I unbox an original red Applause dinosaur. But there's also a new vlog every single week. And the vlog series is me telling how this movie came to be from start to finish. And then there's going to be a new interview dropping every single week. There's going to be an interview with Vince, an interview with Renee, an interview with Miko, and an interview with myself. Awesome. And hopefully I might do a separate interview with Dave to drop eventually as well. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff, you guys. If you like the idea, then you might as well subscribe to the Horror Show channel, because I'm going to be giving updates every day for the next 30 days while this thing is going on. So thank you very much for watching, and thanks for having me on, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. No problem. Absolutely, folks. Head over to the Horror Show YouTube channel. Subscribe to that channel. I'll give updates, when I can, of course, but the updates are going to come firsthand from Cecil over at the Horror Show. So you'll be able to get them firsthand from him. And then, anything I get will I'll share as well. But thanks for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate it. And we're going to do the best we can to bring the man of your dreams back. All righty, guys. Cheers. Talk to you soon.